All right, everybody, what's going on? Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, right? We got a lot to talk about today. We got some Beppo greater than Captain Mid. Still Law greater than Kid. Yeah, okay. Let me just start off the stream by saying this. First, everybody like the stream. That's number one. Oh, wait, shoot. We got some supers to catch up on already? Okay, hold on. Also, there were, one second. Let's get our affairs in order. Let's get our affairs in order. All right? That's what we got to do first. Shoot. Okay. Let's catch up on these supers real quick. Everybody like the stream. These are the order of operations. I'm going to talk about these supers. I have two supers from last stream I got to address real quick. Is Brandon King here, and is Anthony's crew here? If Brandon King is here, speak up, because I got to respond to you from last stream. Brandon King, Anthony's crew. Got to respond. I got to catch up to two things from last time. Before that, Wowfell said... Wait, no. Wait. This is... Nope. Okay, never mind. This is from last time. Ethereal Split said... First of all, Dom, thanks for being a Yonko member for 7 months. High streamer, we riot. Okay, I am not high right now. I guarantee I'm not high right now. And I don't think Have I gotten high on 420? I think post-college, I kind of just stopped really making a big deal of trying to get high on 420. The reason... here's why. Which is... I think just because, like, at a certain point, maybe it's with age or something like that, but when you can just get high whenever, right, it doesn't really matter if it's 420, you know what I mean? It's kind of just like, well, it's just a day. Maybe I'll smoke when I'm done with everything today, but Thursdays I kind of got to work late, so it's not really an option either. But you guys know what I mean? Like, it's cool that there's a specific day for it, but it's also just like, well, you can kind of just do it whenever anyway. Like, once you're an adult, you're not living with your family and stuff anymore. It's kind of just like, well, whenever you're in the mood, you can get high. So it's like, why does it matter? But I understand it, it's got some, it's a specific day to do it, I guess, right? And Mark Zachnown, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Banger chapter, Wano video when? Wano video I'm trying to do before the Wano anime closes. That's all I got for you guys. Because I've been so fucking swamped with shit. I'm not even done with the Berserk video yet for Manga Morj. That's just been sitting there in an almost complete state for like a while. I'm trying to get around to finishing that. Once I can finish that, then I can work on a Wano video. So it's a little bit held up, basically. So that's where it's at. Anyway, catching up to stuff from today. The Outback Pandas. Nope, not Outback Pandas. Ethereal Split, thanks for the 20. Can't believe Morj took the time out of his day knowing it would risk him to be late to the stream to pass out some funky smelling brownies to the senior citizen home. Even drop kicked a kid on his way out. What a legend. Yeah, people are going to be asking about getting high shit. Like, okay, no, I did not pass out edibles at a senior citizen home, but I can tell that this is going to be what the stream is about from here on out. I did drop kick a kid on the way out. That did happen just because. That was for fun. That was just, I felt like it. Niles Go, thanks. What heroic act did you do before the stream this time? I guess kicking a kid on my way out counts. The kid looked like he could turn out to be a criminal in the future. So, would you go back in time to kill Hitler when he was a baby? That's the sort of thing I was thinking. Wait, that's a random question, by the way. Let me just ask you guys. I know it's the most generic question in the world, but I am kind of curious. Where do you guys fall on this? Would you go back and... Okay, would you kill Hitler as a baby if you had time machine? And assume that there's no other consequences, Like, assume that this doesn't mean, oh no, now I grow up dyslexic or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't affect... Just imagine everything else in history stays the same. Obviously minus the Holocaust and World War II and the stuff that Hitler caused. You guys get what the question is, right? I'm not trying to get into the technicalities, right? Just assume that this doesn't affect you in any way. Most everything else about the world is the same, all right? Or would... It can't be the same, though, right? Because World War II was important for some... Okay, imagine this means that we had World War II, but we just don't do the Holocaust. I think that that's the one that keeps things closest to the same. But it's still... I don't know. It's too complicated. It's about a 55-45 split. 55 saying yes. All right. I'm not going to elaborate on this anymore. Let's talk One Piece. Or should we talk NBA? Is that why you guys are here? You want me to talk about the NBA? Anyway, I'm kidding. All right. Hold on. Okay. Named says, okay, thanks for the 5. Friendly neighborhood Mork. Do you think Law and Mid or Blackbeard and Shanks are closer apart strength-wise? I do think that Blackbeard and Shanks are further apart strength-wise than Law and Kid, just because I think we got a lot to suggest that Law and Kid are... we got a lot to... I think over the course of the Wano arc, I don't want any revisionist history here, but over the course of the Wano arc, especially during the final battle of Onigashima against Big Mom and everything like that, most people are saying that the portrayal seems to be that Law and Kid are about the same level, right? That was what the portrayal felt like it should be at around that point. Many people even felt like, isn't Kid supposed to be stronger right now, even though it looked like Law was doing more damage because of the nature of his ability, but it felt like it was supposed to be... At the time, it really felt like it was supposed to be implying that these two are about the same level. They're both trading off, taking turns against Big Mom. Just both of them holding off Big Mom while Luffy's fighting Kaido. I think the implication was that we're supposed to take it as them being around the same level. Whereas with Blackbeard and Shanks, there's just nothing that we've seen from Blackbeard yet that puts him where the rest of the Yonko we understand them to be, right? Maybe he's there, but there's just nothing that's put him there yet. By that I mean we already understand all the hype behind Kaido, Big Mom, etc. But Shanks has so much additional stuff, right, that we understand. We know that Shanks stopped Kaido from getting to Marineford. We don't know exactly how. We know that Shanks is in Kaido's top 5, for example. We know that Shanks... can scare off an admiral and stuff like that. We know that Shanks made Blackbeard run away from him, and Blackbeard said, "I'm not ready to fight you yet." Back at the Marineford War, we saw how everybody respected Shanks at Marineford and everything. Shanks just has so much going for him that basically implies that he's right up there with wherever Kaido, Big Mom, etc. were. With Blackbeard, we really have no... There's limited feats to go off of yet. There's nothing that's really said, like, hey, Blackbeard is this level just yet, right? Even the fact that Aokiji is allied with him, I mean, we already saw how that is. Aokiji's allied with him. It's not as though we didn't get any sort of sense that Aokiji views Blackbeard as stronger or superior to him or anything just yet. Maybe Blackbeard's stronger than Aokiji. I'm just saying we haven't gotten confirmation yet, right? The strongest character that we know that Blackbeard has defeated is Marco. That's where we're at. Oh, I guess you could say Law at this point, but again, that gets back to then it's just a circular question, which is like, well, how strong is Law? Because that's what we're trying to figure out here with regards to that question. So, in my opinion, Shanks and Blackbeard are further apart right now, at least till Blackbeard gets his final power-up for the story. Frigid, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Thanks for wishing me a happy birthday, even though it is not my birthday. I still appreciate it. Sheriff Laffy, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. The Blackbeard pirates are so cool. In one chapter, we got more of what they're about than the Beast Pirates ever did. They're truly a dark mirror of the Straw Hats. I would agree. I think that they have a lot more personality, and I think that that's fun to see. I would say that it'd be nice to see them be effective in combat in some way, which I don't think we've seen just yet out of them. Unless you're counting, like, Aokiji or something. I don't really count him personally just yet. Polmao, thanks for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate it. And Polmao, thanks for gifting people memberships as per usual. Guys, everyone say thank you to Polmao. Everyone appreciate Polmao. Omar, welcome to the Yonko. Welcome. Polmao is definitely the MVP of most streams anytime he shows up. All right, I think we're good there. Let me catch up on the supers from where I was at. So, Bunfagum says, confirm Morj did save an old hag today. Hey, you said hag, not me. The Outback Pandas. Holy shit, thank you for the 50, man. Pisses me off that Chopper developed a Sulong drug but hasn't made shit for any of his crewmates. Something for Luffy's stamina or letting Robin go demonio more often. Anyway, is Oda setting up a Straw Hat L or will they succeed where the others failed? So, my take... Okay, let me give my take on the Chopper thing. I think with Chopper... we got to give Chopper credit in that he is constantly healing the rest of the crew, right? So he does that every arc. Developing something for the rest of them, I'm gonna give him, like, it's kind of I'm kind of giving a pass because I'm just like, well, I wouldn't have expected Chopper to develop something for Luffy's stamina before this, but he did develop something for Beppo. I think part of it is that it's just that it feels very right up Chopper's alley, right? I mean, creating the Rumble Ball and creating something like this for Beppo, it feels very, very similar. It feels very similar. I wonder if Chopper himself could go Sulong. Wouldn't that be interesting to see if Chopper... I mean, it doesn't make sense. He's not a mink, but I think Oda can play with the logic behind that easily, and none of us would question it if it's like, hey, Chopper's got a Sulong form. Because he's so similar, right? So I'm not going to say anything about that, or letting Robin go Demonio more often. Is Robin limited in going Demonio? I don't know. I think Luffy's stamina is the only clear physical drawback that one of them has for fighting. And, you know, at the end of the day, if Chopper could develop something that cancels out the effects of Gear 4th draining his energy, or Gear 5th or whatever, I think it would just break the series too much. So we gotta give it what it is. Anyway, is Oda setting up in a Straw Hat L, or will they succeed where the others failed? So that's the question of the... That's the biggest question, I think, right now, right? I'm gonna go ahead and say... and this might seem surprising to you guys based on my reputation as focusing so heavily on the raid failing. Guys, get the stream likes up to 300. Let's get the stream likes to 300. But despite me saying, like, the raid's gonna fail, etc., a lot during Wano, I personally feel like this could be a little different in that, yeah, I think that Luffy and the Straw Hats will have some major setback or defeat or something like that over the course of the final saga, or some point where they experience a real major difficulty or something that shakes them up. I definitely think that'll happen at some point in the final saga. I just don't know if that's gonna happen right now. It would feel fitting happening right now because obviously what we're seeing with the other crews. But I think it would be a bit more powerful if it happened a little bit later along the line in the final saga. Because otherwise it's like, what? Like, Luffy gets the shit beat out of him and then he goes and meets Shanks or something like that. Wouldn't that feel a little bit sad or disappointing that Shanks is kind of coming across Luffy when he's, you know, really down? It's kind of like Shanks wanted to meet Luffy. When did he want to meet Luffy? It was like after Whole Cake Island, when Luffy was declared an emperor. So after a big W, Shanks was like, hey, it's almost time for us to meet. Similarly, after Marineford, when Luffy's at his lowest, Shanks was like, isn't this not a good time to meet? So maybe I'm putting the order of things out of order. But in my mind, it's kind of just like, I feel like they're supposed to ride a bit of a high right now. And I think that kicking off the final saga with them demonstrating why they're a Yonko crew for a little bit, I think that would be really, really good before them experiencing some sort of setback, and then getting one final resurgent comeback victory, whatever, etc., against whoever they need to, the Blackbeard Pirates, World Government, etc. I think that just flows pretty well to me, but if Oda mixes things up and he's like, okay, they're set to get fucked up at Egghead Island, again, it would just be like, who it happens against really matters here, because if it's against Kizaru and the Marines, I personally, and I think many of us would find that very disappointing. You know, if it's something like Im swoops down from the heavens or something like that and wrecks the Straw Hat crew, sure, then I'm down for it. But for them to come all this way and then it's still Kizaru or something like that brings the hammer down on them, it would just feel like they've made no progress from Sabaody, which is the arc that this parallels. So that's where I'm at right now. But, you know, like, I'm always one for heroes having to experience some sort of tension, right? Something that fucks them up, something that shakes them up, so that when they make the comeback, it's dramatic. That's just dramatic storytelling. But when it happens matters a lot as well. So I would personally prefer moving the final saga along a little bit before that happens to them. But, you know, we'll wait and see. Whenever it happens, happens. Sean Easton says, you want to catch up on Jujutsu Kaisen? Culling games are over. Also, any banned words you want, other than weekly spoilers. No banned words that I can think of. Also, like, banned words One Piece related or, like, real world word related? I guess just ban the words that are, like, you know, the words that you're just not supposed to say. You know the words, right? Like, we all know the words. I think we, like, the racist ones, or the you know, the racist ones, the other ones, the full spectrum of them, right? The homophobic ones, I guess disabled people ones, just the ones that you're not, you know the words. Also, Kid has a good matchup versus Blackbeard. Does Kid have a good matchup versus Blackbeard? I don't know. Look, I'll tell you this. In my mind, Kid should have a good matchup versus, like, you remember back when, this was like 5 years ago or some shit. People were arguing like, hey, maybe Kid versus Mihawk wouldn't be a bad matchup because Mihawk uses a sword, right? Now, obviously, Kid's way weaker than Mihawk. Everyone understood that, but it was like, well, wouldn't Kid be really good against a swordsman? Because if Kid's ability should give him a good matchup against fucking anybody, it should be a swordsman, because his magnetism, if it can't pull a sword out of somebody's hands, then what the fuck is it good for? First person Kid gets stomped by right after Wano is am I allowed to say swordsman? It's a hockey master using a sword. Some might say a swordsman. Anyway, I don't know. I don't believe Kid has a good matchup against anyone. I'm looking at Kid versus Beppo right now, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Maybe that polar bear looks pretty damn fast. Leo Rector says, hey, Morj, which 420s-year-old women/men from manga would you take as your harem, and would you also say that Admiral stocks are low now, plus Dragon stocks up? You're trying to get me to do a waifu tier list right now. Hell no, that takes a lot more. Waifu tier list will be some sort of a crazy high goal. Maybe I'll do like a stream where I'm like, if we get like $1,000 in donations, then we do a waifu tier list or something like that. Or like 5,000 likes or something like that. I don't know. But I'm not doing a waifu tier list for you here just like that. Thanks for asking. Would I say Admiral stocks are low now, plus Dragon stocks are up? Are Admiral stocks low now? To me, the question is like, I guess with Admirals, I always felt that Admirals are a bit below Yonko. I just did. I just feel like the story goes way more out of its way, undeniably, to build up the Yonko than Admirals. It's just been that way forever. Like, just compare Fujitora's introduction in Dressrosa to Kaido's introduction, the way the story frames different admirals and stuff, or how much focus is given to Big Mom versus, like, how big of a deal is made out of, like, Green Bull or something, right? The OG admirals, you could argue, were cooler, but even, like, looking at Kizaru, like, Kizaru versus Shanks, it's just, I think you really have to go out of your way to be like, well, this admiral could beat this Yonko or something like that, right? Like, Aokiji versus Blackbeard. To me, that's potentially a toss-up right now, but that's because Blackbeard's just the most recent, or he's such a recent Yonko, and his biggest feat is beating Marco, which isn't really a big deal. It's not the same as the other Yonko, right? That being said, Akainu is the one that I kind of put separate from this equation. Even though he should only be slightly stronger than Aokiji, I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt that's like, well, maybe he became a lot stronger from the fight with Aokiji. Maybe he got a hockey bloom or something like that. Just because Akainu's role in the story, it sets him as basically, you know, Fleet Admiral, right? I think it would be kind of embarrassing if Fleet Admiral right now in the Marines would be weaker than, say, Garp and Sengoku right now, two retired Marines. You know, I feel like at the end of the day, what Akainu should be at in the story right now, just what he's supposed to represent, the type of threat he's supposed to represent, I feel like he should be right up there with the strongest characters in the world. So I like to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe Akainu got a bit of a buff from the battle with Aokiji. We know that intense battles like that are specifically what give characters a buff, so I don't think it's out of the question. But I do think that the average Admiral level, I think, honestly, ever since the Shanks and Green Bull incident, I don't think it would make sense for most people to even be arguing that Admirals and Yonko are the same anymore. Named, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. Okay, thank you very much. Holy shit, we're getting a lot of memberships gifted today. Everybody thank Named. Everybody thank him. I want everyone thanking him. Nicholas Steelstern, you thank Named. Silverbum, you thank him. Most? You can't even spell. You gotta thank him. Tomahawk, PWPT, everybody thank him. Everyone get your thank yous out. And let's get the stream likes up to 400. Alright, let me move through these supers a little faster. Zoro greater than Law greater than Cade confirms as Nerve AMV maker. Despite what I'm saying on Twitter right now, I think a lot of people don't realize, in my opinion, I think what Law did against Blackbeard was more impressive than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for, because despite what I'm saying on Twitter right now, because come on Twitter I'm just gonna say what I gotta say, but there's no Law rants coming today, despite people probably wanting it. Why? Because what Law did was impressive, right? It was, I'd go so far as to say very impressive. I mean, Blackbeard looks somewhat cut up, right? He looks a little bit damaged. It doesn't look like it was an easy fight for him at the end of the day. Yeah, it doesn't look like it was an easy fight for him at the end of the day. And, you know, Blackbeard is a Yonko. Even if I personally don't think he's quite at the level of Shanks, Kaido, and Big Mom, I don't think he's there yet, right? He's probably just a little bit short of that. At the end of the day, it seems like Law held out a good while, right? The fight took place many chapters ago, and it seems like it just wrapped up now. It's hard to tell how much time has passed or whatever, but I mean that's a really good showing. I don't think you can compare. People are talking about Law as though he got done like Kid, but there's a huge discrepancy between those two showings, like an absolutely gargantuan discrepancy. Kid got taken out in one panel. Law's been doing this for 15 chapters or something, you know? Again, we don't know how much a chapter equates to time or what exactly the time frame is, but it's very, very different, and Law got hits in. I think that what happened here is this is good, right? I think this is a good showing. I think that's pretty good. I will even go so far as to say this. I don't know if Zoro would have done better. I don't know. I don't know if Zoro would have done better. But at the end of the day, I think, honestly, by the end of this arc, just because of the threats that are coming to Egghead, right? And we're seeing Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. They're up against the Seraphim, right? They're going to be about to flex a little bit. Kizaru's coming with Marines and stuff. There's going to be some... Unless the Strats are set to get defeated right here or something like that, I think we're going to get better feats from Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji in the near future anyway. So whatever's happening with Law and Kid, I'd say we kind of just... I'm of the opinion right now we just wait a little bit and wait till the end of Egghead Island and then go back to scaling or whatever. Because, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Sanji's about to be made to look close to as impressive as Luffy and Zoro. Or if Zoro is made to look close to as impressive as Luffy or something like that. Or... We don't know what's going to happen in the next few chapters, right? I think the Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Seraphim situation is very interesting. Behanort says, "Hi, Morj. How was the orphan saving today? Do you..." Oh, you didn't hear the beginning of the stream? I actually kicked the orphan I saw today. Do you think Law could join the Battle of Egghead? Law could join the Battle of Egghead as what? A corpse? Someone that just sits around in a hospital bed? What's he going to do in the... Actually, Law is very well equipped to heal himself, right? Better than anybody in the world. What's going to be his role in the story going forward? I think it's crazy interesting what just happened to Law and Kid. I think it's really, 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 really interesting what just happened to the two of them. Because, I mean, the parallels are obviously significant. People are saying that there's a big difference between the words used. Like, one was completely destroyed, the other's just defeated and stuff. I don't think that makes that much of a difference because there's visually so much similarities in terms of the ships being destroyed and stuff like that. Both of them fighting a Yonko. I wonder if there's a team up in the future. A team up again. Maybe a reluctant team up, but perhaps a team up. Wrench Dodger 2000, thanks for being a Yonko team member for 3 months. I once again request Buggy and Big Morgan's emojis. Oh, were you not here for the last stream? Oh, fuck, did I forget to put in the emojis? I forgot to put in the new emojis. Were you not here for the last stream? The last stream we had emojis. We already voted on them. Sorry, man. Those ones didn't make the cut. Debilaros Ali says, I see no outrage about how Chopper shouldn't be able to make a drug that helps you go Sulong, not even related to devil fruits. It's just... I'm done. I argued about Chopper's shit for, like... I just argued about Chopper's shit so much when it came to the Smile stuff. I'm done arguing about what that dude can or can't do in the series because people will just justify it one way or another. At the end of the day, it's just whenever it's convenient, I suppose. But I'm done talking about that. G4162, thanks for the 10. What's most likely? Logia awakening finally from Kuzan? Garp packs Kuzan? Oh, that's a great point. I don't think I'd seen anyone throw that out. Kuzan using Logia awakening to take care of Garp. I think that'd be a great way to first showcase Logia awakening, especially because it was even teased earlier this arc with Vegapunk. Garp packs up Kuzan. I don't think Garp beats... I think it would just be too much for Garp to beat Kuzan here. I think it would just be too much. Garp's old... I think Oda's done a really good job over the course of the story of giving credit and hyping up the old guys, right? Without shitting too much on the current day characters. So, for example, even just a little bit ago, we had Rayleigh show up, right? Rayleigh scared off Blackbeard just with his reputation, right? So we take that as basically, okay, Blackbeard as he is right now probably still thinks he can't take Prime Relay, or is at least very wary of the idea of taking on Prime Relay. However, really at the same time makes it clear that I don't think I could have actually beaten Blackbeard as I am right now, right? So that's an important distinction in that Oda's basically telling us that the prime level of these characters is crazy high, and Prime really very well could probably take Blackbeard as he is right now. Versus, honestly, Prime really would probably wreck Blackbeard based on just how good of a fight Law just put up against him, and Law barely knows hockey, and really is a hockey god. So, Prime really would probably wreck Blackbeard as he is right now. But at the same time, Oda makes it clear that, yeah, like, old Rayleigh as he is right now wouldn't quite stack up. So I feel like it'd be something similar, right? You've got old Garp versus Aokiji. Garp starts the battle by saying, man, I'm so ridiculously weak right now, right? So we get the idea that this is just a shadow of its former self. I think it would really, really paint Aokiji, and by extension, all the admirals in such a shitty light if it's just like, Garp, 2 years retired, 78 years old, supposedly he believes that he's ridiculously weak at the moment. If he still just packs up Aokiji or something like that, I think that would be... It would just be so unnecessary, because if Aokiji wins, or at least if it's a draw, then you get both, right? You hype up the current day character while the reader still understands that, damn, Garp in his prime would have been crazy strong, right? If you just have Garp beat him right now, it just makes too many other characters look bad. I think it would take away from the story a little bit, but we'll see. Garp packs up Kuzan, but Shiryu sneak stabs him. Maybe if it's like a draw and then Shiryu sneak attacks him, that'd be cool. The fight gets interrupted from something else. I think if anybody interrupts the fight, it would be Blackbeard, so let's wait and see. But maybe Shiryu. Nicholas Sealstern, thanks for the 10. I think the reason why Sword is common knowledge in the Marines, but still a secret, is because it goes against the norm, and people who would identify as Sword would be shunned or harassed by the other Marines. That's a good argument. That's definitely a good argument. I mean, I wonder when Sword was invented. Was it over the course of the time skip? Maybe it was in protest for people who sided with Aokiji over the course of that incident? I don't know. Okay, I gotta get through these a little bit faster. I gotta catch up to you guys. I can drive, thanks. What is a dynamic you're waiting to get more focus? A dynamic I'm waiting on to get more focus. Can I say the Straw Hats? I would love to see them interact more. But if I can't say that, is it interactions I want to see? Because I would love to see, Shanks interact with Mihawk or something like that. I would love to see more of that. But if it's an existing dynamic that I want to see fleshed out a little bit more, it might be... I really want to say the Straw Hats, but I feel like that's a cheap answer. Maybe Cross Guild. I would love to see more of Cross Guild. I'll say that. Captain Face says, hey, Lord Marijuana Hyman, we know certain Straughts love to drink, but which Straughts do you think would try weed or regularly consume it? My bet's Brooke. Brooke is a great, great, great guess. I think Frankie, maybe. I don't know if Frankie, I'd say Frankie, maybe. I could imagine Luffy taking I could imagine Luffy getting high and not really understanding what it is, but just enjoying it. I could see Usopp. I'm gonna go with those. Thomas White, thanks for the 10. In the SBS of Volume 102, Oda clarified that the second strongest member of each crew was on the 1031 cover page. Now that Kuzan is part of the Blackbeard crew, that means that Shiryu is officially greater than Kuzan. Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. If you think that Shiryu is stronger than Aokiji, sure. I just think that that's kind of absurd. I also would say that Oda would be deliberately trying to hide that Aokiji is a member of the crew, so I would never read too much into that. It's like, obviously Oda's not going to say, like, it's the second strongest member of each crew, except for one crew, it's the third strongest member. It's just, like, you just put it into context, I would say. And then the other thing is literally just that, like, Aokiji's, it's fucking Aokiji, dude. It's like, to say that, I just don't even know what to say. It's just like, so you're saying that Shiryu is basically a Kainu level. Shiryu's as strong or stronger than a Kainu. You think Shiryu's stronger than like Kizaru and Fujitora and stuff like to really, really put into context what that would mean. Kuzan's fruit is the invisibility fruit. So he doesn't even have a combat fruit. So it would basically mean that his haki, right, for him to be stronger than Aokiji right now, it would mean that his haki is basically top 4 or 5 in the world if he's stronger than Aokiji with just haki. Because we see the level of haki you need right now to take on Aokiji, right? Like, it's Garp's level of haki, right? That's so Shiryu's haki would basically be, he has not only got Advanced Conqueror's haki, but it's right up there with, like, Kaido, Shanks, Big Mom, Mihawk, right? We think that that's Shiryu. Like, maybe. I just don't think that that's the case personally, but maybe. I mean, if that turns out to be the case, I would love to see why. Like, how? Because, you know, Shiryu was a strong character. He was a jailer at Impel Down, but that's never been implied to be anywhere close to Admiral level or anything like that. And we literally saw at Marineford, like, you know, Blackbeard, like, they're not treating Shiryu like this Admiral level threat, or no one's treating Shiryu as this Admiral level threat or anything like that. So I'd be interested to see. You know, if Shiryu's really strong, that'd be interesting, but I just can't imagine him really being at that level right now. Remix King says, talk about your favorite playoff series. I'm going to say this real quick. With the one I'm most interested in right now is Suns Clippers that's going on right now. That's it. Dristian Denatanwari, thanks for the 10. Big fan. Just wanted to know what your thoughts on the playoffs are and if you started Kingdom. I've not started Kingdom. Hoping to start Kingdom soon. Thoughts on the playoffs? I think that these are some of the best most interesting first round matchups we've had in a long time. And I think a lot of the series can go either way. Yeah. Suns Clippers I'm most interested in, followed by Lakers. I hope the Lakers win their series. Cloaksies, thanks. Shanks' perception of Blackbeard puts him there. Living rent-free 24/7 as the biggest threat in Shanks' mind puts him up there. No, because that's like saying Shanks' perception of Luffy puts him there. Because it's literally like, Shanks is obsessed with Luffy. He's been obsessed with Luffy for the longest time. That doesn't mean that Luffy's, that's based on potential. That doesn't mean that Shanks thinks from the start that Luffy's at his level or anything like that. Shanks is interested in Luffy because he knows what Luffy could become. He's also interested in Blackbeard because he knows what Blackbeard can become. But we already know for a fact in the story that Blackbeard himself, at least at the time of Marineford, was too scared to fight Shanks. Because Shanks was ready right then. He said, do you want to fight? And Blackbeard outright says, it's still too early to be taking on you guys. And that's, keep in mind, Blackbeard at a moment where he thought that he was basically unbeatable. Like, read what he was saying over the course of that point. He wasn't scared of Garp right then. He wasn't scared of Sengoku. He thought he could beat both of them. Once Shanks showed up, he said, it's still too early for you. So, at least at the time that Blackbeard got both of his fruits, he did not think he's ready for Shanks. At least at that point in time. And then on top of that, since then, the only thing that we've seen, the only thing that we know Blackbeard has done over the course of the time skip that was impressive is beating Marco, which is it's a big deal, but that's a far cry from Yonko level. And then the last thing I'll say is that, like, to be pretty straightforward, we got a good gauge of where Blackbeard's supposed to be right now, which is he believes he can't beat Prime Rayleigh. That's where he's at. And I would imagine that Shanks right now is as strong as Prime Rayleigh. Many would believe that he might be stronger than Prime Rayleigh, whatever. But I think we can all assume that Blackbeard is not yet at his final level of strength, at least wherever he's supposed to end up, right? So, you know, if Blackbeard's running from Rayleigh as it is right now, he doesn't think he's as strong as Rayleigh. Give the context being that Rayleigh is declined, so Blackbeard probably would beat him right now, but at the same time, Blackbeard's saying Rayleigh is above me, right? Assuming Rayleigh hasn't declined or whatever. I think we can safely say that, you know, Blackbeard's not there yet either for taking on Shanks. The Outback Pandas, thanks for the 50. Oh no, we covered this. But thanks again anyway. Will, thanks for the 5. What power-up could Blackbeard get that would make him able to fight Shanks without Conqueror's Haki? I think just one more fruit. Just one more fruit would do it. Because right now, Blackbeard's got 2 really broken fruits. Both his fruits, you can make the argument that they're the strongest fruit in existence. Because one cancels out every other devil fruit, and the other is the most offensively, destructively powerful fruit in the story, right? So it's like, they're 2 really strong fruits. If he gets one other really good one, I think he's in, you know, I think Shanks would be in trouble. And not to mention, Blackbeard's Haki, I still don't believe Blackbeard would have Conqueror's Haki. Maybe he does, but I still don't think he would. especially considering it didn't make an appearance in his fight with Law or anything like that, and it doesn't look like he used it against Law. It looks like he beat Law with his Yami Yami no Mi. But Blackbeard's Haki isn't bad either, because we saw him block an attack from Seraphim Mihawk that cut a mountain. So that's something to consider. Jordan Taylor, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. I think Kuzan's matchup is Robin because his power-up is ice and Robin is hot. Guys, taking you seriously there for a second, I was just like, is this where the Admirals have fallen to, that we think that Robin could beat them? But I think that'd be funny. Aokiji video coming on Tuesday. I think Aokiji's an extremely, extremely interesting character, and I think that this chapter gave us a lot to work with off of him. I think that Aokiji's storyline in One Piece, I'm honestly so happy that it looks like Aokiji is not a member of Sword. It looks like at the moment Aokiji is not a member of Sword. I think it would be so boring and cliche if Aokiji is just another Sword member, because what you can do with the character, if he's truly following his own path, and the things that seem to have been implied recently in terms of what his path might be, again, which will be elaborated in that video Tuesday, it's so much more interesting. It's a much, much better character in my opinion. Kakashi Snitch 9 says, now that Aokiji's confirmed a Blackbeard part, I think the final matchups will be Sanji versus Shiryu and Zoro versus Aokiji, because think about it, 2 invisible men going at it, and Zoro versus Aokiji sounds like amazing fights. I think that'd be cool fights, for sure. It would be kind of random if Zoro's just, like, his final matchup in the story is just Aokiji, because they just never had any sort of... Aokiji's such a significant character, and Aokiji and Zoro never had any sort of dynamic, you know what I mean? It's just, like, randomly, you're fighting an Admiral level character, and it's Aokiji. At the same time, I think that a lot from what Aokiji said seems to suggest to me, and if you piece together a lot of his dialogue, it seems to suggest to me that, look, he's not literally, like, I mean, I think it was fairly clear from this chapter even, which is that he's a pirate, but he's following his own agenda from Blackbeard, right? So whatever he's doing right now, it's because he thinks that they have a common goal. But at the point in the story when the Blackbeard pirates are fighting the Straw Hat pirates, it would likely be very significant in the grander stakes of the world or whatever, and Blackbeard would probably be doing some outright really, really villainous things, and that's not really who Aokiji is. So I think it was made more clear than ever this chapter that, yeah, he's with the Blackbeard pirates for sure, but he's still following his own path. So whatever, like, he's got an ulterior motive for being with the Blackbeard pirates. So I just can't imagine it being like, all right, final battle for the sake of the world, bad guy, number 10, it's Aokiji, and Aokiji just loses, and we don't really get anything more out of his story. And it was just like, he's just thrown in, that would basically mean he's just thrown into the Blackbeard Pirates for the sake of them having a strong fighter with no regard for Aokiji's character, or what he's actually trying to do, or why he's actually trying to do stuff separate from the Marines, and why he thinks temporarily allying with the Blackbeard Pirates is the right move to do. Keenan B, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Is Kuzan truly a rat, or is he playing 4D chess? So I think I did just address that a little bit in the last response. I think Tuesday's video, I'll elaborate on that a lot more. I think Aokiji's character is really, really interesting, and I think I thought it was pretty clear to me from this chapter that, yeah, he's on the Blackbeard Pirates side, because there's a common goal that they seem to be working towards, but that doesn't mean that he's like, how do I say, a bad guy like the rest of the Blackbeard Pirates. It just means that he's identified that he can get to something that he's trying to get to easiest by being with them. Stan Guy says, Brago streamed for 12 and a half hours with Caleb and some of the other guys, and he agreed after much deliberation that you can in fact say the N-word. What? What? I want to know if this is a joke or not, because I'm just gonna assume that this is a joke, but that's actually really funny. Leighton Brees, thanks. Hi Morj, I came across your channel a few weeks ago. Oh, awesome, new person. I've been watching all your old videos and streams since. Go to YouTuber. Wid will be back. Okay, that's awesome. That's nice to hear. Going back through old streams and stuff like that, that's, I'm a little worried you saw the old school quality where the mic didn't work and the setup was, don't even worry about that. Don't go too far back in the streams. Alright, Sheriff Laffy, thanks. I think it's interesting that Oda has portrayed Akainu as being reluctant to fight Aokiji. It's different from some people's impressions. Yeah, I mean, like, Akainu probably had a lot of respect for Aokiji, and Akainu probably did. Like, you have to understand, at least from my perspective, I say you have to understand, I'm just assuming things here, right? My assumption is that when Akainu was nominated for Admiral or Fleet Admiral, Aokiji was like, no, because I strongly disagree with your values, right? From Aokiji's perspective, I don't even know if he knows what the fuck Aokiji's from Akainu's perspective, I don't even know if he knows what the fuck Aokiji's values are. So for him, from his perspective, it's probably just like, hey, my friends or my colleagues really speaking up and saying he disagrees with how I view the world and stuff. Okay, I guess if we gotta fight, we gotta fight. But it was more so. It always sounded like it was more so Aokiji who took issue with Akainu rather than the other way around. Behenort says, it's interesting that Luffy's two fake rivals got beaten by Luffy's actual rivals. Agreed, and both had the same framing as Sabaody, in an arc that's supposed to be a giant Sabaody parallel for the Strats. Yeah, it's really cool, honestly, when you think about it more. They got Sabaodied here. That's hilarious. They got Sabaodied here. Again, I will repeat this over and over. With Kid, it's kind of just stupid because he already got Sabaodied for no reason, essentially, the Wano arc. You can remove Kid and everything he did from the Wano arc and just move that to here, and it would be basically the same thing. Because he didn't learn anything over the course of the fucking Wano arc. He went through nothing. He technically went through, I learned to trust people a little better, but that was the most half-assed, like, character arc we've ever seen because it basically, like, there was no writing behind it. It was kind of just like, fuck you, Appu, I'll never trust you again. End of the arc, it's like, it's Appu, hey, dude. I'm gonna take down Kaido by myself. You know what? Luffy's going to take down Kaido, and I guess Law and I'll help take down Big Mom. But then by the end of the arc, it's again like, Luffy got credit for he's being called a Yonko and shit like that? Well, why? This makes no sense. I don't know. Kids writing and whatever. Why don't you just Sabaody him once here with Shanks? Why even have him mess up the Wano arc? It's just so random and like, just all of that came to nothing if you're just going to have him go through the same shit here. It would be like if Luffy and the crew got Sabaodied, and then they got back up, and then, like, they're like, all right, we're good, and the Sabaody arc led to nothing, and then, like, the next island over, they went to Fishman Island or something, and then it happened all over again, and then they're like, okay, this time we need to train and stuff. It's like, it's just wasted storytelling. It's like, why do it the first time? It makes no sense. All right, anyway. Alito5, thanks. 1 out of 2. I saw Morj today at the supermarket when he got in line behind me. I said he cut in front of me, but I guess he thought I meant the whole line. When the cashier asked him to get back in line, he pulled out a knife saying, I'm allowed to... saying, I'm allowed to cut. That's actually really funny. They pulled out a knife saying, I'm allowed to cut. That poor cashier. Keep up the good work. That's really funny. Okay. Edwin Rodriguez says, hey, Mork, what if Blackbeard failed to get Law's poneglyphs, but his team on Egghead steal Luffy's instead? What? Oh, interesting. Forcing Luffy to fight I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that there's Blackbeard pirate members heading over to Egghead. And by process of elimination, so hold on, this is actually fun. Katarina Devon's gonna be involved, right? Because that process of this is fun. Fun. Okay, hold on. So, we know that Blackbeard, Burgess, Van Augur, and Doc Q, right? They are all with Law at the moment, right? They're all at Law's place. Then we know that Vasco Shot, San Juan Wolf, Avala Pizarro, Shiryu. Wait, does this even add up? And Kuzan. So it's just Katarina Devon? Wait, where the fuck's No, it's just Katarina Devon and Lafitte. It's just Katarina Devon and Lafitte. Holy shit. It's just Katarina Devon and Lafitte. Right? They're the only missing ones. And those are the two. I talked about this in my Seraphim Doflamingo video, which is that those are the two that if you want an infiltration and, like, deception mission, you want Lafitte because he can sneak into anywhere, and Katarina Devon can take people by, like, she can transform into people. That's why I thought, like, maybe she's the one being the fake Vegapunk or something like that, back during the killer thing. Because I did a video talking about Seraphim Doflamingo's the killer, but half of the video was dedicated to the possibility of the Blackbeard pirates. But that could still happen. Hold on, this is really interesting, guys, right? Think about it. We can narrow down which Blackbeard pirate is heading to Egghead Island. That's so cool. It's just Lafitte and Katarina Devon, which means that they're going to lie and trick some people into some shit, right? It's cool shit. Ray Uchiha, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. Any thoughts on the man marked by flames potentially being a fishman because they can control whirlpools? I mean, it sounded more like it was like a snap my fingers and some whirlpools happen, which fishmen can't really do. Man marked by flames, I have some thoughts. I think Dragon's a good bet. Dragon's what a lot of people are pushing. I just think that Oda's being... If it's Dragon, then Oda's being unnecessarily mysterious, because it's just like... If it's just Dragon, like, we're far along enough in the story that, like... hiding that Dragon has the last road poneglyph isn't. It's kind of just an unnecessary tease, in my opinion. If it's the man marked, if he's the man marked by flames, so I'm hoping it's not Dragon, because it's just like, if it's just like, Dragon's not this super mysterious character anymore, right? We've seen him all the time. We've seen him in action all the time. Fucking Blackbeard, they, like, other characters I've seen him, Blackbeard and them, like, attacked Baltigo and stuff like that. Like, they interacted with Dragon and his pirates and or Dragon and his squad and stuff like that for a moment. So for them to be, like, really mysterious now, I think it's just a bit unnecessary. If it's Dragon. If it's someone else, then great. Okay, moving along. Name says, how do you think a fight between Kid or Law versus one of the OG admirals would go? I think that... I'm not going to speculate on Kid, man. I'm not going to speculate on Kid. I think it should... I mean, I just feel like Kid should be in the same tier as Law. Like, he's supposed to be, based on everything we saw in Wano. So, I'm going with the assumption right now that it's Shanks that's significantly stronger than Blackbeard, rather than Kid being significantly weaker than Law. That's kind of what I'm rolling with, as I explained earlier in the stream. Forgive me if I'm wrong about that assumption. We'll just have to wait and see a little bit. But how they would do, I would say that Law would do about as well against an Admiral as he did against Blackbeard. That's what I got right now. I think he would do about as well against an Admiral as he did against Blackbeard. Like, for example, if you look at Kuzan and Blackbeard's scene at the bar, I feel like if Blackbeard and Aokiji fought right there, I feel like that could go either way. That was at least the sense that I got. Maybe we don't have a lot to go off of there, but I felt like that's something that could go either way. So, by that logic, I'm kind of just putting Blackbeard around there. So I think Blackbeard's not quite at the level of Kaido, Whitebeard, Shanks just yet. I don't think he's supposed to be. That's similarly backed up by the fact that he did not want to take on Rayleigh. I'm going to say he's like Admiral level right now. Justin Holland, thanks for the 10. Law, despite the L, is better equipped than Kid. Yeah, I agree. Sulong Drug is both interesting, and Law still benefiting from the Strahd alliance. Yeah, he is. Dude, the Strahds gave so much. They gave him the fucking road pony. Like, these rivals are such jokes, man. It's such a joke. Such a joke. Will Akainu be given true free reign to hunt down Luffy? I mean, Akainu can give himself true free reign if he wants, right? He's the fleet admiral. But I don't think that Akainu is going to go out and about hunting Luffy unless I'm crazy, like I'm totally wrong or something. Nerve MV Maker, thanks for the 10. Wait, hold on a second. Guys, we got to get the stream likes up to at least 500. At least 500. Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 10. I think the Straw Hats L would be Luffy losing to Blackbeard and being given to Cross Guild. I do think losing to Blackbeard would be the best way to shake them up. So that's why I think that it doesn't happen just yet. I think if Kizaru and losing to Kizaru and like the toddler Seraphim, I think would just be disappointing more than anything. I feel like a loss at this point in the story should come to the characters that Luffy ultimately needs to defeat at the end of the story, right? So either Blackbeard or somehow Im. Im is unlikely because Im works from the shadows, so I think Blackbeard makes the most sense if there's a loss in the works. The Strats will regroup and take out Cross Guild in order to save them. Zoro beating Mihawk will be both for him and Luffy. That would be cool. That's actually a really, really cool way to suggest. That's actually a really, really... That is actually the best way I've seen somebody... I don't know if something like that would happen. It sounds almost too fanfiction-y to me. But I will say that that is the best argument I've seen, or best proposed theory I think I've seen in the story, or from anybody, as to a scenario of Zoro fighting Mihawk and Zoro having to beat Mihawk for it to mean something outside of their personal context. Meaning, not just a duel for World's Strongest Swordsman, but Zoro has to beat Mihawk also because for the sake of blank, right? And if being for the sake of Luffy would just be especially good, right? Especially once Mihawk left the world government, it was like there's no possibility of Zoro having to fight Mihawk in the final war and stuff. Like, against the world government. So I like that possibility. It sounds a bit fanfiction-y, but it's a cool thing to think about, and I would love if that happened to happen. Judd, Zoro's son, says, ZKK still alive, Zoro kills Kizaru, mirroring Sabaody. Also, Shiryu is going to stab Garp. Like Squardo did to Whitebeard, it's all connected. Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, the Garp Aokiji interaction I think was made to look extremely similar to the Whitebeard Aokiji interaction, right? Ice Ball, they both break out. Garp does it with Haki. Whitebeard's just a Quake Man, so you can't do that easily. Yeah. Shiryu stabbing Garp would be good because it kind of can leave Aokiji versus Garp up in the air and also gives Shiryu a good moment. He kind of needs one because we haven't seen him do anything just yet. Zoro killing Kizaru. I don't think Zoro's going to kill Kizaru, but Zoro versus Kizaru would be nice to see, even if just a skirmish. Tomahawk PWPT says, also look at the narrator wording between the two. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's meant to be very, like, there's a empty panel where we're not led to be, we're kind of left to interpret for ourselves, why did Aokiji make the decision he did? You know? Ponte, thanks for the 6. Bastiano T says, the destruction of a pirate's ship, a symbol of his identity and power, seems to signify total defeat. Kid and Law are officially out of the race for Pirate King. I mean, you could argue they were never in the race, but I feel like they could have something significant happen to them in the story from here, right? Law just feels like, I feel like Law and Kid are just pointless characters in my opinion if the story just ends with them are abruptly being taken out like this. I just don't get what they do. Like, why did we need these characters? I think Law was great for Dressrosa. In Wano, Law was really just like, Law and Kid just existed to fight Big Mom basically, which isn't really, it's like, why even have them exist to fight Big Mom if they're not significant characters? Because then by that logic, it's just like, well, then Big Mom, like, what's even the point of having Big Mom? Why not just write 3 fucking emperors? Because none of this was relevant to Luffy in his story, right? Or the Straw Hat. Like, it's just arbitrary shit basically happening, right? If none of those characters' stories mattered. So I like to think that Kid and Law, there's something there for them still. Especially because Law, it's just, more has been made out of, like, him still chasing the truth about the Will of D. He was there to find out about Pluton and everything like that. Like, why is all of that important? Like, why write so much specifically around Law if this is just the end of his story? And the Ope Ope no Mi, there's so much there for his character. Bassem El Madawi says, the fake spoilers this week were hilarious. According to them, Garp one-shot Vasco's shot. Vasco's shot got one-shotted. And Pizarro and was wrecking Aokiji. Have a great stream. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think, like, this is the moment for Garp to look cool. I think Aokiji will look better next chapter at the very least. Thomas White says, go read what Oda said about Beppo in the 102 SBS if you have doubts about the 1031 cover story and Shiryu greater than Kuzan. No, I don't have doubts that Oda said that. I'm just like, that doesn't mean that Shiryu's greater than Kuzan. That just means that Oda's not going to be revealing that. Oda's obviously not going to be like, okay, they're all the seconds. He's not going to put Aokiji in that color page. Like, there's just no world where he's going to put Aokiji in that color page. I don't really know what to say because that's obviously a huge spoiler for the rest of the story. Like, I have nothing really, I have no real response because it's just like, we all know why Oda would not put Aokiji there. So it's like, okay, yeah, obviously Shiryu's going to go there. And Shiryu is probably Blackbeard's true first mate. First mate at the end of the day, right? Shiryu's probably Blackbeard's number 2. But we all also understand that Aokiji's probably not going to be end game on Blackbeard's side based on everything we know about his character and everything he's saying. And we literally saw the conversation that led to him joining the crew, which was very, very different than, all right, ha ha ha, I'm like a bad guy like the rest of you Blackbeard pirates, let me join in or whatever, right? We know that he's got his own goal, and from everything that we know about Aokiji's character, it's much more likely to be a much more noble goal than what the Blackbeard pirates are doing. It's kind of like the same way we would assume that Fujitora is not going to be siding with the world government in the final war based on everything we know about Fujitora's character, but we can understand why Fujitora is on that side at the moment. We covered this. Goomba Boomba! I kind of hope Shanks Strauss versus Blackbeard Pirates is going to be a crew battle instead of 1v1s. Really, I hope that that's one where they all get 1v1s, because I think it's one of the rare times that they can actually all get 1v1s, you know? Because even in the Wano conflict, they didn't all get 1v1s, but here they got it all nice and lined up. On top of that, would be cool if it took place on the water. Yeah. My Leak B, thanks for the 15. More, do you think Oda has made certain mysteries and conundrums that he doesn't actually know the conclusion to? To me, that seems to be the case. No, I don't think so. I think Oda knows who the man marked by flames is. I think Oda knows, yeah, I just think that most of this, like, you can trace back Aokiji's stuff for a long time and see his storyline seems to be making sense, how it's coming together. Um, yeah, I don't think that there's stuff that Oda's including just for the sake of including it, in my opinion. Do you have any examples? Loud Waffle, I think there's stuff that he might not get time for, maybe, but I think he mentally has an answer for most stuff. Loud Waffle, thanks. Do you have any idea what kind of fruit Blackbeard is looking to make his third, or do you even buy into the three fruits theory? I personally think it would be a very powerful Zoan fruit. That's what I got. I think it'd be a really powerful Zoan fruit. Yeah. I do buy into the three fruits theory just because it fits, like, Blackbeard's flag, you know. There's just a sense of, you know, Blackbeard had two sisters. There's just certain aspects of Blackbeard that make sense that he would get to 3, especially because we kind of see the progression of power for him in the story, right? He starts off with getting 1, and that's when he's like a threat. Then when he gets 2, he becomes like a huge, like, world-class threat, but not quite tippy top or whatever. And then for him to be kind of the final opponent, at least as a pirate for Luffy, a final strongest pirate level opponent for Luffy, like before Im, I would assume, who's literally God. I think Blackbeard would have to get that 1 extra fruit to put him over the top. Colin Parker, thanks for the 10. It was subtle, but did you notice the lines over Garp's eyes when he saw Kuzan? He looked crushed because of Kuzan being able to high diff him, or the fact he was Garp's apprentice. I think it's that one. It's gotta hurt seeing Kuzan like that. Thoughts on that dynamic? I think it's a great dynamic, and I would love to see more. Like, the dialogue coming from next chapter is gonna be really, really great to see. I think that I'm actually of the opinion that it's Garp who's maybe not understanding. I think the video I dropped Tuesday will be an interesting one, because I think people are looking at Kuzan in the wrong light here, when I think that there's a tremendous amount of evidence to suggest that Kuzan does actually know what he's doing here. And even if he makes a mistake siding with the Blackbeard pirates, I mean more so like morally he still is walking the right path, and morally at the end of the day he was right to leave the Marines, whereas Garp telling him to join the Marines back, that would be a step backwards for Kuzan. Even if ultimately joining the Blackbeard pirates is a mistake, I think the direction he tried to walk is the correct one. G4162, thanks for the 5. Will Luffy ever kill someone? I doubt Kaido is dead, and if so, who will it be? Dude, if Kaido's not dead, then it's just like, what the fuck's he doing? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So will Luffy ever kill someone? If Kaido's not dead, then I guess no, in my opinion. Spade, thanks for the 10. Robin could fight Aokiji initially so Oda can write dialogue about Ohara, and then Robin can ask Sanji for help when she's losing, drawing parallels back to Wano. Plus Sanji versus Aokiji would be cool. Yeah, I think Sanji versus Aokiji would be cool, but I think that it basically, like, if Aokiji is legitimately fighting with the Blackbeard pirates at the end of the story, and he's trying to crush the Strahd pirates on the side of the Blackbeard pirates, I think that would be really, really, really bad for Aokiji's character and throw pretty much all of his writing so far out the window. And the Ohara references would kind of be pointless, because if you go back and look through, again, wait for Tuesday's video, but if you go back and look through Aokiji's entire arc, starting with Ohara, through reunion with Robin later on, his discussions with her later on, his discussions with Smoke, like, even down to this last chapter where he's reminiscing about the Ohara incident, it would basically mean that all of that was pointless and he didn't learn anything. So if Aokiji's actually on the Blackbeard, I get people are excited right now because it's like, oh, Aokiji's with the Blackbeard pirates, so like matchups. Like, we got to think about what the cool matchups are. But it's kind of just like, again, it's just like the actual writing behind the character, put it into context. Does it actually make any sense that he's just evil now, right? Based on literally everything that his storyline has been so far, everything he's been saying, literally just looking at the context of the scene where he joined and what was actually said, and most importantly not said over the course of that scene, I'm just like, I'm not even thinking about Aokiji matchups versus the Strahds, because it's just like, it would just make that, like, it just means that all of the writing around his character is just like random and doesn't really mean anything, you know? There is also one interesting thing, which is that if you remove Aokiji from the final squad of final squad of enemies, right? If you remove Aokiji from the final squad of Blackbeard's enemies, then you've got the, even matchups again with the Straw Hats, right? 1 captain, 9 subordinates, 1 captain, 9 subordinates. Keenan, thanks for the 20, man. Crocomom theories aside, could Ivankov knowing a secret about Crocodile mean Croc is a former revolutionary or had ties? Or is he genuinely just too naturally sinister to really care about the injustice of celestial dragons? Crocodile has spoken up. I think definitely in the... Thanks for the 20 again, man. He's spoken up in the Marineford War. And I think it was clear from there that he has a lot of more problems with the world government than he does with anybody else. Even just the fact that he's pushing this like marine hunting initiative. I think Crocodile's got a lot of beef with the world government. A tremendous amount of beef with the world government. I don't know if it means that he's a former revolutionary, though. I don't think he's a former revolutionary or anything like that, personally. I think he was a pirate that wants to be Pirate King. Ray Uchiha says, also the last poneglyph was on Fishman Island in the Odin flashback. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so then man marked by flames, you think that that could be like the sun pirate's mark or something like that? It's just that fishmen can't just like easily make whirlpools like that, right? We know that they can. We saw in Arlong Park arc that they can. It's just, damn, which fishman would have it? Fisher Tiger's still alive? That'd be crazy. Funny PFP, thanks for the 5. When do you think we're going to see a pirate with an eye patch? I mean, I'm on the boat where I would love for it to be Luffy, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be Luffy. Maybe Oda forgot. Maybe he forgot, man. Because I'm running out of, like, what other pirates are really there? Maybe Blackbeard loses an eye or something like that. To Shanks? I don't know. Oh, Anthony's crew is here. Wait, Anthony's crew. I also have to respond to you. Now that you're here, I can respond to your super from last time that I missed. Let me get to that real quick. Hold on. You said Kizaru was scared by a right hand last time. And actually that ties into your current super, because current super you're saying, thanks for the 5, the Green Bull and Fujitora disrespect needs to stop. The OG admirals are stronger. No, the Navy was stated to be more powerful before the Seraphims. Okay, so... on both things. Okay, so 1, you're shitting on Kizaru being scared by a right hand. I would say that Kizaru ultimately, you know, Ben Beckman's supposed to be formidable, but Kizaru ultimately did go ahead and do what he was going to do anyway, and Ben Beckman didn't stop him. I don't think Ben Beckman is stronger than Kizaru, but maybe I'm underrating Ben Beckman, but I don't know. I don't think Ben Beckman's stronger than Kizaru. Ben Beckman is obviously still, like, he's really strong, right? He might be the strongest first mate for all we know. As for Green Bull and Fujitora disrespect, I mean, I agree. I personally think that Fujitora is probably, you know, as strong as Kizaru in my opinion. I think Green Bull is the only one. Green Bull is just a combination of things, which is that 1, plants are just generally not a very scary ability, I think, in fiction. Because they're just not organic. Like, unless you're in Naruto, where there's just like, wood is the strongest. It's like, okay, why is wood stronger than rock when rock is literally it's rock? It's like wood is not that wood's not that strong. See what's harder, breaking a log or breaking a fucking boulder or something like. But in the Naruto verse, it was just random because they were just like, wood's really strong. Why? Because, well, you can just create like fucking gigantic, like 10 mountain tall like giant statues and stuff that you can use to fight. And it's like, okay, I guess it's, but that's not even wood being strong. That's just like, well, he can create more of it. If you can make like a rock monster that big, then that would be just as, I don't know. In general, outside of Naruto, where they were just randomly for no reason, they're just like, yeah, wood's strong. It's better than fire and lightning and like literally every other thing that rock, every other thing that naturally makes sense as being better than wood. Outside of that, plants in general just aren't really an intimidating ability in most things in fiction because they're plants, right? Like, we interact with them in the real world. We know that they're not that strong compared to, like, what are you more scared of? Like, fucking trees or, like, a forest fire or, like, tornadoes or, like, lightning or magma or, you know, a blizzard. You know, it's just plants. They're not that strong. They're not as strong as rock, right? It's just plants. So Green Bull's ability is not that good comparatively. I mean, we literally saw 1 Boro breath, right, from Momonosuke fried him because it's plants. Like, it's just plants. So as far as the abilities go, It's like, it's not quite the same. It's not as scary as like Aokiji's or Kainu's or like Kizaru's abilities or stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? So that's part of it. Then the other part is he just got scared off by Shanks so easily, and I just don't think that we would see that happen. Like, I don't think Oda would treat Kizaru like that. Maybe he would. It's more so just how the character's treated. So at the end of the day, Green Bull, in my mind, I'm sure he's still Admiral level. It's just like, if I had to make a tier list of the Admirals, I would probably not put Green Bull as high as like Akainu or Kizaru. You know, it's just, if you ask me who do I think would win, Kizaru or Green Bull, I'd be like, probably Kizaru. It's not like a stomp. That's it. Ali Labarma says, Wood, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Wood and Naruto had chakra absorption, lol. That's why. That makes sense. That's why Wood was so strong. Because there was a special thing attached to it. But in general, it's just kind of random. It's like, Wood is the best. Like, why is Wood the... why would Wood be the best? It just doesn't make any sense organically. Jack Hitsimimos, thanks for the 10. Love the chapter. I know deaths don't come often in One Piece, but this feels like Garp death flags. Classic shonen trope to have the old man / big side character have a great showing before getting defeated. That's true. I mean, could be a replay for Whitebeard at Marineford, pretty much, for all we know. But at the same time, I wonder if Aokiji would actually let Garp die here, no matter what happens. And 2, it does go back to that thing we were told, which is that Blackbeard wants a bargaining chip with the world government right now. Kobe doesn't work. If he gets Garp instead, I think that would be a great bargaining chip. All right, guys, let's get the stream likes up to 600. Up to 600. Remix King, thanks for the 5. Have forgotten about Kuma like you have forgotten about the Pokemon question of the stream. Let me do that one next Monday. This again is like, this is a chapter where people, I think the flood of people spamming questions is going to be not too happy with me switching over to Pokemon content. I'll address that next Monday, I promise. Forgotten about Kuma. How do I think the final saga will write / focus on Kuma's backstory? Right / focus on... I think that Kuma could be really, really... Like, I think that at the end of the day, each arc, right, when you're building up the villain, you really want a lot of... you need the flashbacks or whatever to really showcase villain did this really, really evil thing. Therefore, we're all supposed to feel really angry and upset with the villain when it comes down to wanting to see them defeated and everything like that, right? That was what made, Dressrosa. We wanted to see Doflamingo defeated because we saw the flashbacks of what Doflamingo did. That was, Arlong Park. Same thing. Generally, the flashbacks are pretty effective at making us really want to hate the villain. I think Kuma is a character that was very likely, just from the start of his backstory, it seems really fucking sad. Kuma is a character that we can tell has a really sad backstory that is tied directly to the Celestial Dragons. And I think he's the first character that we have a backstory that is tied very directly to the Celestial Dragons. You could say Boa Hancock was the first one, but we didn't really get a deep look at that, right? We were just told about it. We didn't get a deep look at her in the Celestial Dragons. Same with Fisher Tiger. Kuma's the first one I think we're going to get to look in depth at his background with the Celestial Dragons and his suffering at their hands. So I think Kuma's really, really important for that reason. And the fact that he already has some degree of connection to the Straw Hats with saving them at Saboti and everything like that. He has some degree of connection to... He's part of the Revolutionaries. He's Bonnie's father, so Bonnie can add more context to it through the Straw Hats and everything like that, to the Straw Hats. So I think that Kuma can tie together a lot of ways of, like, making the characters that really will have a beef with the world government at the end of the story, like the Revolutionaries and the Straw Hats. He could be a good dramatic piece for building emotion for that. Yeah. Obviously for the reader as well. Behenor, thanks. What would you say are the main themes of Egghead, including all the outside world stuff? Where do you think this arc is going thematically? I think that, and this is something that people have talked about already, I think that just based on the amount that it's been discussed, I think desire, right, dreams and desires are a huge part of it. I will say, I'm going to wait till the end of the arc before really talking about the overall ideas of it, I suppose. But I think even with the way that Aokiji's being played into this arc, I think that the more we expand on that and what he wants, if we get that expanded on, I think that could go a long way towards adding more to the themes of the arc as well. But let's wait and see a little bit more. The Hero, thanks for the 14. Why did Oda make Law look good in his fight and not Kid? It feels like Oda has no plan for Kid. His first real arc was Wano, and he was ranked 200. He was ranked 20th in panel time and hasn't had a proper 1v1 fight yet. It could be because Kid is set to get a bigger sort of comeback than Law. I guess. Like maybe something's bigger in the works for Kid, and therefore it's okay for Kid to face a bigger loss. That's all I got really. Otherwise, maybe it's more so Oda just wanted to hype. You can also look at it as like Oda just wanted to hype Shanks more than Blackbeard, which I think Oda effectively did. Because I imagine that where we're at in the story right now, Shanks is supposed to be getting hyped. Whereas with Blackbeard, we're supposed to still be watching him work his way up. As I don't think that the Blackbeard that beat Law just now is his final level of strength, right? Because if this is Blackbeard's final level of strength, then that's not that big of a challenge for Luffy, in my opinion. And then it makes no sense if you swap the two characters, because Law wouldn't just wildly attack Shanks like that. Kid is the one who already had beef with Shanks, who it would make sense him wildly attacking Shanks, therefore Shanks gets to flex. Nilo, thanks for the 14. Hi Morj, love the streams. Do you ever think to make more lighthearted videos similar to streams? I really enjoy your humor and think they'd be fun videos. I suggest that you go check out the Morj Unleashed channel. That channel has been a little quieter recently, but Morj Unleashed is where all the highlights from the streams get put, and it's generally funnier videos. Some are more serious discussions from streams, but in general it's more comedy videos. Let me shout that out right now, actually. Supersonic Squad, thanks for the 5. Unrelated, but do you think One Piece could be on the sun? I mean, sun imagery is really, really strong in the series, but I don't think it's literally on the sun. Also, does this chapter make Aokiji more or less likely to be a revolutionary to you? My hope is that Aokiji's not a revolutionary, but he could totally be one. I would really, really love to see him just choosing to follow his own path. I think that would be the most interesting, in my opinion. GDN says, Doflamingo said there's a difference between the face of an aimless wanderer and a determined man about Kuzan, implying he was determined. Yeah, that's all. Wait for next Tuesday's video, because if you go back and piece together all of Aokiji's dialogue, it paints a very different picture than people are talking about right now. GDN also says, harking back to that line from Dofi, I think Kuzan is going to prove his determination to Garp here and take him out. Yeah, maybe. I don't think that Aokiji loses here. I think that it could be a draw. It could be a draw and, like, Garp gets backstabbed or something like that. Or maybe Aokiji straight up wins, but I think that Aokiji losing here is not likely, in my opinion. Emmanuel, thanks for the 5. Happy 420. Maybe I'll celebrate 420 later today, depending on how late I wrap work and stuff. Ham says, would Oda have saved Ace plus happy 420? Thank you. Would LeBron have saved Ace? I say this as a big LeBron fan. Definitely not the biggest LeBron fan. A big LeBron fan. LeBron would have come into Marineford. He would have dropped like 40, 10, and 10. He would have passed up the game-winning play to... He would have made the right basketball play and passed up the game-winning play to Luffy. And that Ace would have still died. And, at the end of the day, everyone would just be like, well, LeBron lost in the finals again because he didn't want to take the last shot himself. And I would agree, which is he would put up some great stats, perform really, really well, and then they'd lose regardless. And then I'd have to go online and I'd have to defend him, being like, look, if LeBron, like, the teams were unfair, Look at what the Marines had on their side. They had like they had all these admirals and Garp and Sengoku and stuff, and all LeBron had was fucking Marco, Josu, Vista, and some random Impel Down crewmates, or random Impel Down inmates and stuff. Of course, LeBron lost. Let's give him a pass, and people would be like, "Well, who cares? He's no." LeBron basically, you know what's funny? Really brief, and even if you don't follow basketball, you can understand this analogy. LeBron at Marineford was basically Whitebeard. It's the same thing, which is, Whitebeard showed up. One, he's really fucking old, right? So Whitebeard showed up. He drops 1,000,000 stats. Let me show you something. Anybody can understand this. It doesn't matter if you're a One Piece fan or not. Whitebeard shows up. He drops great stats, right? Like, he does all sorts of cool stuff. Everybody's like, oh, holy shit, he tilted the sea. He's fighting all these admirals. He punched the shit out of Kainu and all that stuff. But then he still loses at the end because his team's not as good. He loses at the end because his team's not as good. He literally passes up the last shot to Luffy, right? Because he's like, there's literally this scene. Look at this. This is all classic LeBron. All classic LeBron. Let me show you this. All right. This is what LeBron would have done. So LeBron shows up. He's old as shit. Everybody's counting on LeBron to save the day. Then LeBron says, use all your strength to support Straw Hat Luffy. Everybody's like, wait, what the fuck? Why do we have to bet the stakes of Marineford on Luffy? Shouldn't you be the one doing LeBron? But LeBron's like, no, this is the right basketball play. I'll just let Luffy do it. Then we get to literally the closing time, and it's literally like, let's see. It's literally like this. This is Skip Bayless. So LeBron's biggest hater, and he's like, but he is the captain. I guess there's no helping it. After all, LeBron is a loser. Your real father, Jordan, stood in his way. And so LeBron is a loser who will never become the GOAT. How am I mistaken? How many decades has LeBron ruled the seas? Claiming to never becoming the GOAT. Never winning 6 rings. That's basically it. And then, end of the story. Like, LeBron goes out. He drops some great stats at the end of the day. But, he does a lot of crazy shit. But at the end of the day, Ace still dies. They lose the championship. And LeBron basically goes out with another finals loss. That's basically the story of Marineford. So, would LeBron have saved Ace? No. He would have done exactly what Whitebeard did because it's the same thing. Whitebeard is LeBron. And Roger's basically Jordan. Because Whitebeard passed up the last shot. He was literally like, I can't do it. Everybody put all your strength behind Straw Hat Luffy. Keep in mind, this was pre-time skip, so we didn't even process how ridiculous this was at that point in time. But now it's post-time skip. And we know how fucking stupid that is. It would be like, if it would literally be like Kaido waging war against the world government, and then randomly partway through he's like, I can't do it. Everybody go back up this random kid. He's like 17 years old. He doesn't know hockey. Go back up this random, essentially fodder, who doesn't know hockey. He's our guy from here on out. Also, keep in mind that he is weaker than a single pacifista. Go back this guy up. He's our guy. Is that making the right basketball play? I don't think so. I think you got to close that out, Kaido. I think you got to close that out, Whitebeard. It doesn't matter if you're having a heart attack. You having a heart attack is still better than a kid with no hockey who can't beat a pacifista. Jordan would... You know what Roger would have done? Hold on. You know what Roger would have done? We know what Roger would have done. We literally know what Roger would have done. We know what Roger would have done. Because Roger's the same as Ace. Don't you dare touch Luke. Roger would have had some crazy Conquerors hockey or some shit. Some crazy Conquerors hockey. He would have just kept going. And here's the thing. Hold on. Oh, maybe I'm one chapter off. He would do anything he could anything he could do to stop the enemy from going after his crew. He wouldn't let the enemy get away. At times like that, Roger became a true demon. That sounds like some Michael Jordan killer instinct that, I don't know. In no world does Roger pass up the last shot to Luffy. It just wouldn't happen. I hope that makes everybody happy who says that I'm always I'm too much of a LeBron fan. I just told it like it is. It's just the way it is. All right. Back to pure One Piece talk. For those of you who didn't follow the analogies, you probably got enough of it. All right. Where are we at? Disaster Master, thanks for the 5. Just got here. How does Morj feel about Beppo being most useful right hand so far, other than Zoro, of course? Beppo greater than Kid, BTW. No, he's not the... Killer was... No, people... I don't want people underrating Killer like that, because Killer... One, not only did Killer manage to injure Kaido on the rooftop, meaning that he was more useful than his captain, right? More useful than his captain. If you go back and look, Killer was better on the rooftop than Kid was. Kid spent the entire arc talking about how he's going to get revenge on Kaido, especially on Killer's behalf. Didn't do any of that. Killer did it himself. He got some hits on Kaido. So one, Killer was more useful than his captain on the rooftop. Two, Killer was actually on the rooftop, whereas Beppo was, I think, downstairs or some shit, or swimming around in the fucking ocean on a submarine or some shit like that. I don't know. Beppo was not a factor in the war. Also, keep in mind, the moon was out during Wano, and Beppo didn't go Sulong for him. He waited and had a drug like 2 weeks later to go Sulong. I don't know anything about that. But and then the other thing is, you guys got to remember, Killer saved Kid's life as well, because Kid was gonna die to Big Mom until Killer saved him from Hawkins by defeating Hawkins. So Beppo was useful for sure, but I don't think we should underrate Killer. Killer did quite a bit. Daniel Allen, thanks. Garp is still in the top 7. I said what I said. We gotta wait and see how this fight plays out. If it plays out like him still being about even with Aokiji and the fight gets interrupted, then sure, I'll say he's probably still right there. Sun Plus says, hey Morj, about your Blackbeard having Conqueror's Hockey video, I agree with almost everything, but the one outlier was Dofi. Dofi doesn't fit in with the headstrong nature. Doflamingo does. In that Doflamingo's like, he's very... I think you could even get to his speech talking about like how he had the entire pirate world in the palm of his hands, chapter 801. Like, Doflamingo viewed himself basically as the king that... oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Headstrong in terms of like reckless, right? So I don't think headstrong always means reckless. More so just like they want like the disposition to stand above, so they're not going to back down from a challenge necessarily. Now, that has its limits, obviously, because Doflamingo was scared of Kaido, right? But at the same time, like, you see Doflamingo's reaction to Fujitora. Like, Doflamingo's, he's not going to get punked easily. Like, even over the course of the war, you saw Doflamingo very confident in himself. That's not to say that every Conqueror's Hockey Spirit user, will just refuse to back down from any fight or whatever. Because, I mean, even Luffy, like, pre-time skip, he had Conqueror's Hockey, but he still realized he had to run away. Same thing in Whole Cake. Like, he's like, we can't beat Big Mom right now. We got to run, etc. But it's still just the nature of it, right? Which is that they view themselves as basically the alpha personality, I suppose. And Doflamingo was still ultimately striving for Pirate King. We knew that from what Monet said. So he still had a plan to get one over Kaido, Big Mom, etc. But it just never came to fruition. I mean, hell, he wanted to take down the Celestial Dragons. G4162 says, is the Egghead incident a Straw Hat member being captured? Like, sorry, just to clarify one more thing. Blackbeard's very different in that Blackbeard will almost, like, never take on a fight that he doesn't think he can win on the spot, right? Like, literally, old man Rayleigh showed up, and even then Blackbeard's like, nah, I don't want this, right? It's fucking old-ass Rayleigh, right? Like, even Blackbeard should be like, okay, I probably got at least 50-50 odds against, like, old Rayleigh, but Blackbeard's just not going to do anything that's that he doesn't feel pretty confident about winning, right? G4162 says, is the Egghead incident a Straw Hat member being captured? Also, why do you believe Gorosei can't fight when they look like they can? Scars, weapon, etc. No, I don't think that the Gorosei can't fight. I just don't believe that they're um, like the strongest characters in the series, like a lot of people are saying. Like, I don't think that they're stronger than the admirals, stronger or as strong as admirals, stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they're commander level or something like that. But I just think Oda really, really, really goes out of his way to give a lot of focus and attention and build up to any time he's introducing a very strong character. I think just the way that the Gorosei have been treated throughout the story, it's always very matter of fact when they show up. Even the first chapter that they're introduced, it's kind of like, if you go back and read the first chapter that they're introduced, they're kind of just like treated as the dudes who are talking and like hyping up the arrival of the hype characters of the chapter, which are Doflamingo and Kuma. Like, if you go back and look, it's like there's never a point where they're built up, if that makes sense. They're never kind of given a portrayal of like the Gorosei or anything like that. They're always used to be like they were kind of the brand, like they kind of played a role like brand new in the chapter that they were introduced. It was like the 5 political guys, and they're like, we've got some big names showing up today, and then the chapter concludes with like Doflamingo, Kuma, crazy high bounties and stuff like that. And you get what I'm saying? Like, they were kind of the build-up guys to these guys, and that's just been the case since then. Like, they were the guys building up, like, yeah, Whitebeard and Shanks, these 2 guys are gonna meet, that's gonna be crazy. So to me, it's just, if you look at every strong character throughout the story, every single admiral, every single Yonko, etc., and Im himself, when Oda's really introducing them, like, he wants to build up a scene to really hype up these characters and leave a significant impact on the reader's, I guess, main, like, brain or memory or whatever when these characters are introduced. Be that Mihawk, be that Shichibukai, be that Hancock, Doflamingo, be that Aokiji, Kizaru, whoever. Oda really likes his introductions. Like, he wants you to feel like when Kaido's being introduced, that's the strongest character in the world. It just feels weird to me. I mean, same thing as with Dragon, blah, 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 right? It feels weird to me if the Gorosei are kind of like casually just always treated as like, they're first introduced, but there's no big deal. Like, there's no scene associated with them. If anything, their scene is being used to hype up the introduction of other characters. They're just the guys talking about the other characters showing up. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just like, throughout the story, any significant character, even if it's the villain of the week, like NL or Lucci or whoever, Oda really likes his drama or fanfare associated with building that guy up, so you feel hype when they're introduced, and you like they're a big deal to you. Maybe he's doing something totally different with the Gorosei, where it's just like randomly these are 5 Yonko class characters or whatever, but Oda's just always pretending they're not strong or something like that, and he's hyping up the Shichibukai in that chapter instead. But I just don't know why you would do that. Maybe it's just to keep it a surprise for later. Who knows? Micah Ellis, thanks for joining the Yonko. Appreciate it. And is the Stride member going to be captured? I just don't think this is a point of defeat for the Strides, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if it is. It would just derail things so much, because then that means that, like, they don't go to Elbaf or something, because they got to go to the, like, do they skip Laugh-Tale? Like, they got to go save the Straw Hat, right? Disaster Master says, would Ronaldo have saved Ace? I don't know enough about soccer to say. I don't know enough about soccer. I know that I'm supposed to say that Messi is better than Ronaldo. I know that much. Sorry, football. Tomahawk PWPT says that Garp line to Dadan about Roger would be Jordan's flu game in One Piece. You mean the hangover game? Food poisoning game? Disaster Master, thanks for the 5. I said Beppo's greater than Kid instead of Beppo greater than Killer for a reason. Killer was the real captain. Oh, I misread your comment then. Beppo great. Yeah, Killer's been a lot cooler than Kid, in my opinion. Oh, people are upset about me saying Ronaldo's better. I'm just saying what I like. I'm just saying what I see, man. I'm just saying what I see. Like, I think I've seen enough to get the sense that you're supposed, like, most people think that Messi, or like most people who know football think that Messi is better, but Ronaldo has a cult of stans that all claim that he's better. Maybe it's kind of a LeBron Kobe situation. I definitely pissed some more people off saying that. This is just outside looking in. This is just the sense that I get reading things. Anthony Screw, thanks for the 5. Green Bull has the makings of a true conqueror. Yes, Shanks' hockey caught him off guard, but he didn't want to fight the entire crew. Not right now. Why are you so focused on hyping up Green Bull? Never seen someone want to push Green Bull so much. I mean, maybe, man. But he didn't want to fight the entire crew. Not right now, I guess. But it's just like the makings of a true conqueror. What has he done that has the makings of a true conqueror? I just don't like. I've never seen a Conqueror's hockey user in One Piece act as scared as Green Bull did. You know, there's a difference between backing down respectfully and kind of looking kind of cool doing it, and then just whatever the fuck Green Bull was doing. That's my opinion. Maybe Green Bull's stronger than we think. Nile Show says, yo, where can we talk Chainsaw Man? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's developing the story and right now discuss with you. I mean, I can answer some Chainsaw Man stuff here briefly. Don't want to go too in depth into it. I like what's happening in Chainsaw Man for sure right now. I think this section of the story will be really important because I think so far Chainsaw Man Part 2 has been written really, really, really well, and in a more, I think all the dialogue, internal monologues, etc., are a little better than they're better than the early stages of Part 1. I think now is the point where you're in danger of getting too on the nose with a lot of what Asa's thinking, going through, etc. Whereas I think in the first several chapters of this current arc against this current villain, especially when we got the little Asa flashback, I think that was really, really good. And I think that we were getting I think with Asa, we've gotten so much just through bits and pieces and kind of putting together from individual thoughts and individual statements and like fears and worries and, you know, decisions by her of what really plagues her, how she thinks, why she's affected by what she's dealing with, etc. I think we're in danger right now with the last chapter in particular of just being dialogue that's just too on the nose, whereas before I think it was doing a really good job being subtle. I wouldn't say I thought that the last chapter was bad. I just think that the writing around who she was and what she was going through was better when it was just less spelled out, I suppose. That's where I'm at. I still think it's good. Let's see how the next couple chapters go. If it continues down this trend, then I won't think of it as strongly as I did previously, but I still think Chainsaw Man Part 2 is really good. Kraus Ray Gott says, thanks for the 5, will Teach really be able to hold the Heart Pirates plus Garp plus Sword Members plus Moria / Perona plus Pudding all captive all at once? I mean, he's got a really big squad there too, right? The Heart Pirates, they're not that strong without their... I'm surprised Law's not captured, right? Which is interesting because that means that it's something totally different that his storyline is heading towards. That Law's not captured. I don't know if Blackbeard would bother with capturing the Heart Pirates and like keeping them. As for Sword Members, Sword Member, like he's got his old crew. His crew is strong, you know. I think that maybe he could keep them captive, but maybe not that long. Maybe they're probably all going to break out at some point, right? And I feel like Kobe's going to escape. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's like the stream. Let's get the stream to 700 likes. Yeah, people are talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. I do know the one key thing that happened, and it's gotten me excited enough to read. But yeah. Virgil Hawkins says, "Oh, I missed a 7-month membership from you." Oh shit, sorry, Virgil. Thanks for joining the Yonko. Thanks for being a 7-month member, dude. Sorry about that. Top 5 favorite canon ships in any story, not necessarily manga. Plus Chainsaw Man 127 thoughts. Plus thoughts on the idea that all art is political. Oh shit. Okay. Let's break that one. But so one of these goes together, which is I really like Denji and Asa, which I think is fairly clear as a ship, right? I really like Denji and Asa. In any story. That's hard, dude. in any story. Now you got me thinking like, because now I gotta like go back, you know? Because I like honestly, okay, let me try anime manga first, because I feel like a lot of my favorite ships for characters, in general, honestly, are like from kids' TV shows and stuff, like fucking, uh, this is hard. Hold on. Like Danny Phantom and Sam, you know, or like this is really hard. Let me try anime and manga first. Naruto and Hinata. Just kidding. Sasuke and Sakura. Just kidding. Yeah, it's nothing from Naruto. This is too hard. This is a good question. Do I like anything from Bleach? No. You know what's irritating? I think I don't care too much about ships, but like very often there'll be times where I'm like the ships that happen, or like the romances that happen in a story, are like the ones that I don't want to happen, if that makes sense. I'm like, I'd rather this be with this or something like that. Give me a second. I want to think about this one. Mario Castillo, thanks for being a Yonko to your member for 7 months. If you had a Nen ability, what would it be? I don't know what it would be, but I would love to have Serednik's ability. I think that would be my favorite to have personally. I don't know what mine would be. Let me think. Hold on. Okay, let's cross off different series. We don't want... Dude, I think like most series I don't like the ships that happen. I want different ships. Hold on. Okay, I'm just gonna look up anime and manga. Wait, let's just look up anime. Let's see what we get. Okay. Wait, let's look at... I don't like anything in JoJo's. I don't like anything in... Wait, Hunter x Hunter? Oh, Hunter x Hunter, has... You guys know the one. The main one in the Chimera Ant arc. That's obvious. Archangel, welcome to the Yonko. I'm really trying to think, because now I'm just like, fuck, do I just like dislike most of the characters, like ships in most series? Steins Gate, I really like the main romance of Steins Gate. Yeah, I really like the main romance of Steins Gate. You know what? That's good enough. What was the rest of your question? Wait, why is that not considered a ship? Isn't Meruem, you know who? That's considered a ship, right? What's the difference between that and... Isn't a ship just a romance? That's a ship. Okay. Anyway, what was the rest of your question? Let's see. Choose something from a sitcom? Oh, wait, yeah. Okay, hold on. There's like real TV shows, live action TV shows I could pick. Okay, this is probably generic, but I think Jim and Pam are great. I think Jim and Pam are great. Because they're two fucking normal ass characters. Lots of times people reference like fucking weird ass characters. Like, not to knock these shows. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine's very funny. I think Parks and Rec is funny-ish and stuff. But usually like good romances and lots of like other sitcoms and stuff are with really abnormal characters that don't talk or act like real people. Jim and Pam are mostly just like normal fucking people. Yeah, lots of normal TV shows I like. They don't have ships that I like. Oh, you know what? Mad Men had Peggy and that one dude. I don't know if this was a ship. I don't know if it was a ship. His name was like... Yeah, Michael Ginsberg. No, that wasn't a ship. That wasn't a ship. Alright, you know what? I'm done with this. Okay. Finishing off Virgil Hawkins' question. Chainsaw Man 127 thoughts. I kind of explained that already. Like, I think what's happening is cool, but I think that the way characters are expressing what they've been going through maybe is getting a bit too on the nose. Thoughts on the idea that all art is political. That's one of those things where it's kind of just like, depends how much you stretch the definition of political. Because if you're just like, well, a story where, you know, like Luffy frees Arlong, like he frees a village because the bad guys are being mean to the people in the village. It's like, well, that has a message that governments shouldn't be oppressive and shit like that, right? Or if we go simpler and we're like, just some basic ass shit like, I don't know, like high school romance or something. Is that political? It probably, like, there's probably stuff that you can stretch out of anything. I don't think that all art is political in the sense that, like, it's inherently political, but I think it's political in the sense that you could take away... Okay, like, if I look at my favorite movie, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, is that political, or is that just more an idea about... it's more so abstract ideas about humanity, our place in, I suppose, the universe, but also the direction of our progress as a species, or what could be, what we're not imagining the potential of. Like, there's so much to that has more to do with just our nature, our existence as human beings, and the direction, the trajectory that we're on, potentially, and what could be. But at the same time, you could stretch that if you really wanted to and twist it into a political statement and be like, well, 2001: A Space Odyssey includes evolution, and evolution goes against certain, I suppose, certain Republicans' beliefs or something like that. Therefore, it's anti-Christian. Therefore, it's political. Like, if you want to take something, you can twist anything, but I don't think everything is inherently political or inherently trying to make a message that has anything to do with politics. In fact, I would say most probably isn't. Zex54, unless you're like a real, you know what? Unless you're like a real annoying type person. That's all I'll say. Zex545 says, hey Morj, did Griffith do anything wrong? Yeah, he... My take is that, like, you could theoretically, if you were like a really weird person, like, you could justify Griffith doing the big sacrifice he did for what he gained if you buy into the idea that it ultimately leads to a better world. You could theoretically do that. I wouldn't agree, but, like, we could go down that rabbit hole and just go back and forth about that argument or whatever, right? But Griffith rapes Casca, which has nothing to do with anything, right? Nothing to do with greater good, greater goal, his goal, etc. That is just pure malicious spite, and him basically proving something. Just doing it for himself, proving something, asserting basically, like, this is, like, you saw me fall so far, I can take what I want, I can do what I want, this is me. It's just him throwing away any shred of humanity, basically. It's cruel, it's spiteful, it's power, it's just, there's no excuse for that, right? So you could honestly take away everything Griffith did in the Eclipse and just have the raping Casca scene and be like, yeah, he's fucking, like, one of the worst characters ever. This is an absolutely terrible character, considering who Casca was for him and everything that she did for him and the relationship that they have and everything like that. That makes Griffith one of the worst people ever. So once you stack on top of that everything else that he did with the Eclipse, it's just like, yeah, he did everything wrong. Yeah, what the fuck. Mike Ellis, thanks for the 10. Hey, Morj, you talked about Green Bull, so I'm wondering, what do you think about Usopp will get Conqueror's Hopers? Unironically, I seriously think that he will get it. What are your odds? What are the odds in your opinion, 1 to 10? I put the odds at 6. Maybe they should not be that high. But I personally think that it would be really good for his character to get it. And I think that he does weirdly fulfill a lot of the criteria of conquerors. It's just that he needs to, like, the moments that he gets when he stands up for himself are as good as so many other characters in the series. It's just that he's got to push past so much of himself to get to those moments, and I think that that will make him maybe the most his conqueror spirit is maybe the most buried of any other character, but I think that that's what could potentially make him the most interesting to see rise up and become, like, rise up and finally grow into his disposition of a king or whatever. Remix King, thanks for the 5. My point was all these cuts to different parts of the world, it would be hard to continue this cut during a flashback. Yeah, I would agree. Does Bill Russell save Ace? Oh, I love this question. Does Bill Russell save Ace? Okay. Bill Russell was like a pirate that existed back before they had hockey. All right? So imagine a world with no hockey. Maybe there's a couple devil fruits lying around, but they're all weak-ass devil fruits, like the door fruit or like the candle fruit or something. Like they're some weak-ass devil fruits or whatever. And in this era, Bill Russell is the pirate king. There is no world's strongest swordsman because no one knows how to use a sword at this point in time. They're so weak they can barely pick up a sword. No hockey, random-ass devil fruits, and sure, the Marine Force, which at this point in time is mostly composed of plumbers and part-time milkmen, because, no one has a full-time job as a Marine. The Marine Force of this era, yeah, they capture Ace, and Bill Russell shows up with the most stacked-ass pirate squad of all time, of his era. They've got the only devil fruits in existence, let's say. And yeah, they manage to defeat the plumbers and milkmen and save Ace. Also, they do this 11 times, and then people 100 years later keep calling them the greatest pirate crew of all time for some reason, even though everybody since then has actually become strong and learned hockey, and has taken up marining and pirating as a full-time job. The hero says, if Kaido is actually dead, wouldn't that mean Luffy granted him his dream of being defeated by Joy Boy? Kaido technically got a happy ending. Kaido also wanted a grand death, so I think there's multiple components to it. So I would say no, not quite, but he got part of it. He got part of it for sure. Double Arrow Ali says Bill Russell's like Nolan. No, because Nolan killed that giant snake. That was fairly impressive. Rock and Rom says, what did Bill Russell do to Morj? I just think Bill Russell is the most overrated player ever. Cause it's just like Bill Russell. It's just he's in like that era. He averaged like 11 points or some shit in that era when the pace of play was insane. Like he averaged nothing. Like the pace of play was insane. Everything was insane. Bill Russell himself talks about how Wilt Chamberlain was significantly better than him. He said this, like he's talked about what a freak Wilt was, how much more dominant he was and stuff. Bill Russell just played on the best team, but nobody has footage, and everyone became so obsessed with rings culture like 90 years later that people were just like, well, Bill Russell got 11, and he was the best player on those teams, so he has an argument for GOAT. It's like, no. If you put Bill Russell in the game today, I won't say anything about Wilt. Wilt would probably be good today. That's how good Wilt was. He would probably, not even just good, he'd probably be great. He'd probably have to make some adjustments, but like Wilt was just a freak. Bill Russell was not a freak. Bill Russell was just a dude that happened to be playing in an era where everyone sucked, and he happened to be on the best team and the best player on the best team. But he was not that good. NPC says, Morj, do you play golf? No. I don't get the appeal of golf. Some of my friends made me go try like just hitting some balls at a driving range once, just one time. It's harder to strike a golf ball well than I expected. I thought it was the easiest shit in the world, but it takes a bit to like get it down or do it even. I don't know. I only went once. I tried it for a bit. I didn't have any fun. I didn't get what the fun was, and yeah, I just never went back. Island Sanji, thanks for the 5. Hate to be that guy to talk about tension. No, we're not talking about this. But Law and Kid versus Big Mom had more tension than all of Wano. I'm not going to say anything on that, but I actually disagree with that because of the way that Oda cut between the fight. I'm going to leave that for the video. And I know I say that for a lot of things, but this one's kind of specific, which is that I'll keep it like this. No, I won't even say anything. Okay, I'll say this. I think Oda skipped a lot of the moments in the fight where Big Mom is kicking their ass, and we kind of cut back to the fight very frequently at a moment where we see that they're down, but we kind of skip the part where we saw what she did to them, right? We kind of just get glimpses in between. I wish we'd gotten more. I wish Oda hadn't cut those parts out, because I think that's the more interesting part. I think a lot of the points that we cut back to would be like Kid-in-Law on the floor, and then they get up and they say, we're not going to give up or some shit, and then they do something. I think that happened very frequently. Like, we would cut back to Kid-in-Law seeming like they've been beaten up or defeated or something, but we kind of missed the part where it happened. I personally think that the best fights in One Piece, and I think in stories in general, especially anime and manga, are when you get to see the parts where the characters are struggling, and that's the real meat of it. Because if I think back to, like, you know, Chopper versus Kumadori, the most intense part of that fight is Chopper getting his ass kicked by Kumadori and trying to think to himself, like, how do I get over this? How do I get, like, what am I doing? Like, the Rumble Ball, it's not working. I think it's very different if you just cut back to the fight and you see, like you skip all that. Let's just say we cut to the fight, we cut over, and we're like, oh, Chopper's defeated on the ground, and then we see Chopper eat, like, he's like, I'm not giving up, eats the third Rumble Ball, turns into a monster. I think similarly, like Zoro versus Mr. One, or Zoro versus King, right? Like, a lot of it is, like, we get a full chapter dedicated in Zoro versus Mr. One to Zoro, like, getting his ass kicked, and his mind's going through all the motions, like, why am I not strong enough? Why can't I do this? Like, how do I do this, etc.? And you really get to soak in what's happening to him, and that builds a lot of tension, to me, in my opinion. Same thing with Zoro versus King. Same thing with, like, Usopp and Chopper versus Mr. Four, right? You get to see a full chapter of Usopp just, like, he's too scared. He can't do it. He's getting his ass kicked. They're breaking his brain and shit like that. They broke his skull, slamming him through walls. And then finally you see the turnaround. With Law versus Kid, I just wish that, again, you can piece together all the panels of the fight. Very frequently, just the rhythm of the fight was kind of like, Kid-in-Law do something to her. Then she's like, all right, I'm going to get serious. We cut back to, it's clear she did something to them off screen, right? Or maybe we see her doing one quick attack in the background or something like that. And then they do their power up, and they're like, okay, now it's time to awaken. And then they do their awakening power up. Then she gets back up. We cut away. Cut back. Okay, they're on the ground, so she beat them off screen or something, and she's walking away. Then they get back up. They're like, we're not done yet. And then they do their new power up, and then they beat her this time. So I wish we got to keep the parts. I feel like the moments that Oda cut away were the moments that would have been the most interesting to see what Law and Kid are going through while they're getting beat down by Big Mom, and then let that lead to them heroically and dramatically getting back up. At least to me, I think that that's more interesting to me. I mean, to me, that's just like, that's just what, that's just basically every good One Piece fight in the series I can think of, and in any anime and manga I can think of. That's like the most important part of the fight to keep, to be honest, to me. Lewis Sommers, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for a month. Yo, Morj, I got here late. Any update on the Berserk vid? I'm literally going to try and finish it tomorrow. And then hopefully it comes out in the next week or so. It's not even, like, I just haven't gotten around to finishing it for so long. Because, like, the last part that's most frustrating is going through and, like, refining. It's not like I've been constantly working on it or anything like that. It's been mostly done for a while. It's just, like, they're taking the time to go back and refine it, basically. Take Inventory says, hi Morg, Daddy Poopa, do you play badminton? I played badminton for fun a couple times, like when I was younger, because my neighbors had like a badminton net thing. But nothing more on that. Wrench Dodger 2000 says, yeah, Oda should have given the Kid-in-Law versus Big Mom fight more focus. Same for Sanji and Zoro, to be honest. Oda rushed through the end of Wano, but spent a million years on Ice Onis. I like, in reverse of what I said about Law and Kid, Big Mom, Law and Kid versus Big Mom, I think that the Zoro fight and the Sanji fight, it gave me what I personally enjoy in fights, which is like, yeah, we get a full chapter of Zoro getting his ass kicked and everything like that, and him having to go through the motions and come out stronger Like, he can't beat King. He really struggles against King. He's having to go through all these flashbacks, etc. He comes out stronger with Conqueror's Haki, new resolve, etc. I like that. Sanji, similar thing. Maybe we don't spend quite as much time focusing on him losing, but we do spend a good time of, like, him just getting overpowered. And all of that leading up to him getting his power up, him having to go through internal character conflict as to what to do with this power up, and then him turning the tables on Queen, right? With Law and Kid, I just felt personally like we kept getting to see moments of them, like, getting a power, like, doing something cool against Big Mom, then Big Mom acting like she's about to get serious, and then we cut back to them, like, having skipped the part where, okay, what did she do while she got serious? What did they go through? Could we get any sort of internal monologue or dialogue or anything like that out of that? Because for me, it doesn't feel as impactful if you just cut back and it's like, we're not giving up and we're just going to beat you. It's like, where's the, like, honest, like, I feel like most people in chat could basically just write that, right? Like, the tricky thing is writing what you wrote for Zoro or for Sanji, right? Like, that's the interesting stuff, right? Or even for Robin, right? With Robin, she's struggling against Black Maria and everything like that, but then we get the whole flow of dialogue or monologue, etc., basically explaining what she's fighting for now, how she's trained herself to become stronger for the sake of her crew, etc., and then that results in her big power-up and everything like that. That's the type of thing I like. The hero says a lot of the fight was off-screen. Yeah, I try and stay quiet about, like, me not liking the Law and Kid versus Big Mom fight because I know a lot of people like it. I don't have strong feelings about it because at the end of the day, it's Big Mom. Like, she should be more important, but whatever. I don't have strong feelings about it, but to me, that was a fight that I felt like it's something that, like, it was more flash than substance, I suppose, because it was just a showcase for awakenings rather than a showcase for, you know, a dramatic sequence for two very important characters, basically having to go through something, you know. I felt like it was more so a showcase for their awakenings than anything else. Rashton says, Wilt greater than Bill is a terrible take. Wilt's teams won more games after he left because he was an offensive black hole. Bill elevated his team to historical defensive. No, because see, that's the thing. Did you know that Wilt being better than Bill is like Bill being above Wilt is a more modern take? So for the longest time, if you ask players, like, this is something that players for the longest time used to say, like, yeah, Wilt Chamberlain was the standard for great basketball player for a long time, like a long ass time. And like players back then, like 80s, 90s, like 70s, 80s, 90s, etc., they talk more about Wilt as like this legendary figure. It's a modern thing nowadays to go back revisionist history and, like, without people actually, like people who haven't watched them play, people who weren't around for that time, etc. It's purely because Jordan's 6 rings is elevated now so much, and, like, so many people are kind of like, because once you argue LeBron versus Jordan, it gets into the nitty-gritty of all these things, and the thing that is kind of the stamp of, like, well, Jordan's better because ultimately he made his team win, and winning's what matters the most, and 6 rings matters the most, right? So it's a modern take, right? Because that argument has become so rampant and so it's consumed basketball, basically, which is just like how many rings you won is the ultimate measure of how good you were. It's actually turned back time to go revisionist history, like revise history from an era that nobody fucking saw and be like, you know what? Actually, Wilt, that guy that basically, like, broke NBA statistics forever and was considered by literally everybody of that era to be superhuman freak of nature and the greatest athlete basketball had ever seen for decades and decades and decades and decades, and the most dominant player ever until Shaq, right? And everybody from that era attests to that, right? People are just like, you know what? That one dude that averaged like 14 points, he was technically on the winning team, and winning is everything, not even taking into account that, like, Bill Russell had infinitely more stacked teams, right? Wilt was averaging literally 50. I don't care. There's no such thing as being an offensive black hole. If you're averaging 50 on the highest field goal percentage in the league, right, you're not an offensive black hole. You are an offensive bulldozer, right? It's not Wilt's fault that he couldn't, like, this is just the dumbest shit. That's, like, basically, it's the logic of saying, like, KD's better than LeBron because KD was on the Warriors and, like, it was, like, 2018 Cavs versus fucking 2018 Warriors. That's the logic that you're going with. It's just so dumb. It's just like, because people have become so fixated on, like, number of rings is mathematically exactly how good you are, people are actually going back in time and moving Wilt, who used to be, like, considered top 3 NBA players ever, down and down and down further because they're just like, well, he only won 2. It's like, motherfucker, How many times does a stat come up in the NBA that's like best points per game average or best scoring average or most rebounds or most blah 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 since Wilt? Everything in the NBA, it's since Wilt. It's always, it's like literally all, like he's a fucking mythical being at this point, because every stat that ever happens is pretty much always like never been done since Wilt. Dude, like if you took Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell from back then and put them in today's game, Wilt Chamberlain would still be really good. Bill Russell would be like, he's definitely not a starter on a championship team. There's no way. Maybe I'm exaggerating there, but like he like, just look at the players today and compare to like any bare minimum footage of Bill Russell. It's a joke. Grizzly Adams says you might wait for the Egghead Island incident before dropping the Wano vid, possibly getting a big dramatic sequence that would juxtapose well with Wano Slack. I'm there as well, which is that I do want good One Piece stuff to contrast with, because I want to be able to talk, I've talked about this in past streams, I want to be able to talk about like why One Piece is really good in the moment, and then talk about like why I felt Wano was not as good, because I don't want it to just be like a negative time for the channel, you know what I mean? So I would rather not drop it unless I've got other good videos talking up the current arc or current events basically to come out at the same time. Missed membership 7-month message. Okay, thanks Oscar Cruz for being a Yonko tier member for 7 months. Really, really sorry. I don't know how I missed that. Now that Kid and Law are eliminated from this tournament, who gets taken out next? Because it just happened to Law too, I'm starting to doubt if Kid's out of the picture forever, because the parallels seem so similar, and I just don't think... I could imagine Oda just taking Kid out like that, even if it seems unlikely to me. I could believe it. But him doing that to Law too, who is clearly having much more story focus and more to go for his character, I find that very hard to believe. So I do think that there's something brewing here with these two characters. So I don't know who's next. Zex545 says, did Eren Yeager do anything wrong? I haven't finished it. All right, I don't really know. We can talk in circles about Bill Russell, because I'm seeing more Bill Russell stuff, but it's just like, okay, I acknowledge I'm probably knocking him too hard to say he's not a starter on a championship team, but I think he's a player that's just really, really, really hard to evaluate, because the thing with Wilt is, at the very least with Wilt, there's a lot of highlights out there. With Bill, they're not, because he wasn't really he wasn't that dude. He was never considered that dude. I don't know if there's that much of a distinction between Law and Kid's defeat. Like, I know that the wording is different, but I don't know if there's supposed to be that much of a difference. Yeah, Bill is probably better than Draymond is right now. Virgil Hawkins is asking Morj, what do you think about the idea that Arlong is the man marked by flames? Dude, I just... No, I mean... Why would Arlong, of all people, have the last road poneglyph? I get that it was from Fishman Island, but it would just be so bizarre. It'd be so bizarre. Everything in you asks, when's the next Manga Morj video dropping? You have a real talent of breaking down stories and their themes. Thank you, I very much appreciate it. I'm going to try and just wrap Berserk tomorrow, and then hopefully Manga Morj can come out over the course of the next week. Because then it has to go to editors, etc., basically. Manga Morj really stalled for a brief period of time just because of me not having time to take care of it, but I think I will have in the future. I do want to see the Viz translations before we get into the eradicated versus whatever. Oh, is it a joke? Look, man, you could say Arlong being the man marked by flames should be an obvious joke to me, but I hear so many takes over the course of these streams. So many different takes. Some that I think are ridiculous, but I try to treat most things fairly, unless, sometimes it's just too obvious it's a joke, right? I literally could not tell you, because I do believe that there's probably some people out there that think Arlong could be the man marked by flames. I don't know. Free Warrior Force is better MC than Guts as Batman? That's a really random comparison. The thing with comic books, because I used to be into comics when I was a kid. Before I found anime and manga, I liked comics, right? I wasn't huge into comics like a lot of people, and I actually never touched Marvel. I just wasn't interested in Marvel. I like DC comics more, specifically Batman. So I'd go to the bookstore and pick up Batman comics. The thing with comics is you never know what you're going to get. Because, like, I could pick up a Batman comic by one writer and feel like it's really, really, from my little kid perspective, right? I could pick up a comic from one Batman writer and be reading it and feel like, oh, this is really, I like the way it's drawn, I like the tone, I like the story, I like the characters, etc. And then I could read another Batman comic and feel like this is just random shit. Batman's fighting some mutant zombies or some shit, like just the most random villains, and like the feels like he talks like a very different character. I think with comics is always just that there's so little. It's just everybody gets their fun with the character, and there's no clear concept of what the character, who the character actually is at the end of the day. There's just a general guideline as to what a character is supposed to be that everybody kind of follows, but it's like even that changes over time based on what readers are resonating with over a certain period, And then the retcons and inconsistencies are crazy. The retcons and inconsistencies are huge, and then also just the complexity of how much stuff goes into a given storyline. Because it's a double-edged, not a double-edged sword, that's the wrong word, but it's just a bit of a, I don't know, it's a catch-22, which is just that the comics that I would always, like, if I saw it, I would always jump on it if there's, like, a huge event, like, Our World's at War or Infinite Crisis or something like that. I would just be like, it just stands out. You can see so many superheroes on it. You can tell that it's a bigger book than the other books and stuff. So I picked that out, and I want to read that, right? That seems like the most interesting, but at the same time, that's the one that has the most tie-in storylines and stuff that you don't know about. So you're the most confused while you're reading it. So it's just the one that's the most interesting is the one that you need to have the most context for, so you need to go read ones that are probably less interesting to lead to the one that you really want to read. It's like the one that you want to read, it makes it so that you don't want to read it, and you have to go read the other ones to go understand the one that you want to read. Not necessarily catch-22, but it's just a little painful to really get to enjoy just a big event comic, Anyway. Island Sanji says, wait, did he answer my second super? Let me take a look. I don't know what your second super was. No, I didn't. Would you have given... Sorry. Thanks, Alan Sanji, for the 5. Would you have given them more credit or still have the same thoughts if those scenes were drawn/included? I mean, it depends on what... Would I have given them more credit? You're saying as fighters? I mean, as fighters, we saw the good parts. We basically saw the parts where they were kicking Big Mom's ass. This would actually have been better for Big Mom, because a lot of people feel with that fight like Big Mom jobbed. She basically got... a lot of people feel like, how did Big Mom really lose that? She wasn't fighting properly or whatever. I think a lot of that would have been rectified if we'd gotten to see Big Mom, what she was doing in the off-screen panels where she's actually fucking them up, right? So I think it would have been better for Big Mom, because Law and Kid's part doesn't really change, right? We still got to see the parts where they powered up, they used their abilities, they got the drop on her, right? So her part doesn't really change. Would I give them more credit as characters? I mean, I think Law's already a good character. I think Kid is the one that really, really needed more out of that fight. in my opinion, it was kind of like a Usopp and Chopper versus Mr. Four situation where that fight was really more important for Usopp's character, even if they both contributed equally by the end in their own ways. It was more important that Usopp got the character moments for it. So I felt like the missing parts were really, really important for Kid's character, and I would have loved to have seen what Kid was going through, just mentally over the course of that fight. I think that was important. I didn't need much character stuff from Law, because I felt like he was basically there to justify, Kid trying to take on Big Mom, because Kid obviously couldn't do it alone, even though Kid came downstairs with the intent of defeating Big Mom by himself. Because we end off with the Killer section, once Killer defeats Hawkins, of Kid basically being very frustrated that, this is my first opportunity to really fight a Yonko. I can't go out like this. This is so pathetic. Then Killer defeats Hawkins, giving Kid that opportunity, and Kid's excited, right? I view that as like the opportunity, like that's the starting point where we really get to finally get to know and appreciate Kid and what Kid's going through, and Kid's drive to become Pirate King. But what it turns into is, we get to see Kid's power-ups and stuff. The only real thing that he says over the course of the fight is, I'm not going to let you, Law and I were not going to let you go up to the rooftop, which I think is, it doesn't really put into context or perspective anything about Kid's journey so far. The last thing he was saying was how excited he was to finally get an opportunity to take down a Yonko. That's what he's talking about once Killer takes down Hawkins. So it's like, what does this mean? It feels a little just cheerleadery for him to be basically the next significant line of dialogue he has is, no matter what, I'm not we're gonna keep you from getting to the roof where Luffy's fighting Kaido. I don't know. Even just something more about, I don't know, just his perspective. I would have loved to get more of that from there. Big Mom is a glorified punching bag. I think it would have been great, really good for Big Mom if we'd seen the chapters where she's beating up Kid and Law. I think that would have been really good. All right. Snap says, good day. Can't wait for the Morjcast. Thank you for shouting out the Morjcast as usual, man. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, after this, what's going to happen is I'm going to eat. I'm going to record the video for next Tuesday. I'm going to record my chapter review. Then I'm going to record the podcast known as the Morjcast that goes up for Yonko tier members and $5 level patrons, basically. So if you want to get access to the podcast has extended, unfiltered thoughts on everything that happened for the most recent chapter and my most recent videos, basically. So stuff I don't feel like saying here, or I'm afraid to say here, I say over there. If you want to become a member, Yonko tier member, you get access to that podcast. Anthony's Crew says, did you read my $20 super on Green Bull's character? I hope I did. Where the fuck did that go? Let's see. Sorry. Hold on. No, I missed it. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to miss a $20 Superman. It just didn't. Well, maybe I was ranting about something else. Okay, I see it. Sorry. Normally mods are able to catch it when I miss something. I'm sorry you had to donate again to get my attention on that. My bad. This will be the last thing, and I'll close the stream on this. So thank you. Thanks for the 20. Green Bull is misunderstood. He's not a dog to Akainu. He doesn't listen to him. He just admires his straightforward style. He believes in the government and will conquer and kill thousands for it. Has great potential. Dude, I mean, I see the potential. It's just, I didn't get that. I think initially, the way he was talking, he just took out King and Queen. The way he was talking, it did sound as though he's a man that follows his own drive very much, has a strong sort of independent streak. I agree that he's not a dog to Akainu. He ignores him, but he does want his respect or his admiration. But at the same time, it's the way that he reacted at the end of the day to a real It's one of those things where it's like, it's easy to talk tough when you think that you're just going to be beating up on some people that are weak, right? So it's easy to talk tough when you think you're just going to beat up on some people that are weak. When someone he considered a real challenge showed up, he got very scared. And that's understandable, which is, you're not going to fight the full Shanks and Red-Haired Pirate crew. But it wasn't just that, it was the manner in which it went down, in which he didn't just seem scared, or it didn't just seem like a retreat. He seemed very, very, very terrified, helpless. You get what I'm saying? It's the emotions evoked from that situation that did not make him seem that intimidating in the long run. Maybe I'm proven wrong. He is an endgame admiral at the end of the story. He's an endgame admiral, and not to mention, on top of that, he's like, how do I say this? He's very, very possibly, him and Kizaru are very possibly going to be the last two admirals that will genuinely be on the world government side, because I have my doubts about Fujitora. Akainu obviously has fleet admiral. So, I mean, we could be looking at a situation where he's Akainu's right or left-hand man, Kizaru's Akainu's right or left-hand man. So, that trio, I imagine, will be really, really important for the final sections of the story, you know. So, you know, Green Bull, I'm still going to put him lowest in terms of the admirals, but I'm not saying that he's weaker, like, on a different tier than the rest of the admirals. He's still, I assume, admiral tier. I'm just not going to say I think he's as strong as Kizaru or Fujitora right now, till we see something else. That's basically it. Yeah, we get another break after this, but the current chapters are so crazy that it's just like, you know, a break's a break. We'll live. Next chapter will probably be more of Garp versus Aokiji or Blackbeard showing up or something crazy. So it's just, you know, we can live with the breaks. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This was a fun stream, and I will talk to you guys later.